Oh my god, that's worse. That's horrible.
I'm saying Godfall skin.
There's a very
Why-
bad
Why would you go
TV
from?
show. There's a very bad TV show over here called Mrs. Brown's Boys. It's extremely like racist and transphobic and awful.
Right.
And there's a joke that my wife loves from it, which is, oh, what's that useless bit of skin attached to the end of a penis? And someone's like, oh, the foreskin is, oh no, a man.
The skin, like,
Yeah.
my head started like I could slowly feel the pieces of my skull and brain like floating away as you began and continued that story.
You said that, and I knew where it was going, and I was like, I hope it's not going where you think it's going, but then I was like, yeah, it's there.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was born ready. I only have like 25 minutes now, half an hour. But I'm born ready.
Hello and welcome to episode 153 of the Gaming Fix podcast on December 26th, 2020. That's the last official show of the irregular show of the year. I'm your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite WoW server. I'm joined today by Pat.
Oh, that's easily. We play on Blood Furnace, which is a very good name for a server. She has her character she used to play on Emerald Dream. I can't remember. I think Blood Hoof is the server that she plays on Classic. That's very easy. I don't have to come up with a joke answer for that because I can just give you the real answers.
Allison.
When you said We Play, I thought you were going to start referring to the Nintendo Wii game We Play, which everybody has because that came with a Wiimote. So that's my favorite WoW server is We Play.
The WoW moat. Sam Harrison.
Hello. I don't remember what WoW server I played on, but I don't think I've ever had a partner who played WoW, so I can't say any things about that joke.
And Alex.
I play on Carbuncle on the Elemental data center. It's the closest I get.
You could have just said, Sam, like if you had just said like, do you know any Warcraft character's name?
Yeah, I played a lot of World of Warcraft.
Yes, you
I
could have
could
just
tell
said
you
like
all the names.
Thrall's Fury
Arthas,
or
Illidan.
Sylvanas.
There's a server called Storm Rage. Pretty sure.
Storm Rage.
I like playing undead, so Sylvanas is my friend.
Is there a Murloc server?
I'm just gonna.
Yeah, it's
I don't
called.
know. There might be one called like. Just so you know, Sylvanas has been over the last couple expansions made out to just be the worst war criminal. She is like not cool bad guy anymore. They've just made it clear that the Horde are irredeemable piles of shit, and she is just a genocidal maniac. That is. That's why Horde players haven't liked the last two expansions justifiably.
I saw a tweet this morning that said Tony Stark is a war criminal. Changed my mind, and I was like,
I mean, isn't that
He
the
is.
plot of the first movie though?
the plot
Kind
of the
of.
first movie.
Yeah.
The plot of the first movie is you, Tony Stark, are a war criminal. I'm changing your mind.
And then he's like, oh no.
And then
I
he
watched
just
Iron Man 3 on Christmas Eve, so this is a relevant conversation.
like built a bunch of extraordinarily dangerous pieces of technology that in the wrong hands could decimate the world's population. Anyway,
Yeah, and
Age of
stay
Ultron.
tuned to Disney Plus
can't-
for Armor Wars coming 2022
I
for
know.
the story of how that happens.
yes, I know it happens a lot of times. It happened in a movie. It's going to happen in a show.
Happened countless times in the comic books.
And like, I won't spoil Endgame, I guess, but like, in the end, now who's going to clean up that mess?
James Rhodes,
Someone
the Iron
else.
Patriot.
Don't even get me fucking started.
Well,
I like Iron Man, to be clear.
speaking of Marvel heroes and their various video game or various movies, what about when they're in video games? Like
We can't
I
talk about
see.
the famous Marvel game Fortnite.
We all missed the Marvel Battle Pass, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I can't believe this.
They just
But
put in a bunch
did
of
get in.
skins and
And,
like,
not
but now,
a
okay.
bunch.
So for context, 3 out of the 5 of us here have, in the past couple weeks, put money into Fortnite, which
Well,
is very.
Only 2 out of
disappointed.
the 5 of us here have won a game. Oh.
I've won
Yeah,
a
I never
game.
want to get.
Pat, I don't like what this game is doing to you. It's making
Everyone
you
was supposed to
toxic.
laugh at that.
I'm gonna need you to.
I
I'm
was.
gonna have
It would have
to
been
ask
less
you to
toxic
like
if people had
uninstall
just laughed at
Fortnite.
it. People just laughed at it. It would have
Now
been
we're
less
just
toxic.
mad.
Now I
No,
feel
this is-
bad.
I'm disappointed.
Put your G fuel down. Pat.
I don't
Let's have a
like
conversation.
what this
What's
game
funny?
is doing to
What's
you.
funny? I haven't yet redeemed this can of Game Fuel, which was sitting next to me, that I drank yesterday. So
If there wasn't a
Damn
pandemic
wits.
right now, I'd ask us all
take it back.
privately to fly to Seattle and have an intervention.
Sam has one,
Oh, I would 100%
and it was
go.
the way that in which he just owned me. So
I won a battle royale game like a year or 2 ago, if that counts.
No.
Why is Fortnite on this?
it's pretty fun.
It's
I don't know.
actually,
Yeah,
I've
play with
been
your
having
friends.
fun with it. So, okay. So I think the thing was they just released a bunch of skins that we all are interested in. Pat and I
One
both,
specifically.
well, Pat and I watched The Mandalorian season 2 and are
Is
both
it the
like,
Mandalorian?
The game Bandalorian.
yes. So yeah, Mandalorian season 2, and we're both like, man, I need more of that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so we bought the current battle pass because it has Mandalorian stuff in it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like that, the stuff in it is pretty great.
If I could, if Mandalorian were not just structured like a video game, but were actually a video game, would probably be 1 or 2 on my game of the year list. So I enjoyed season 2 of the Mandalorian more than pretty much any game I played this year. I think
Honestly, same. And then they announced another skin that's coming up soon, which is Arrow. So that is a big deal for Sam. So
and they
they
also put in the Black Panther and Captain Marvel and Taskmaster pack, which I purchased.
I did too. So I've put in like $35 into Fortnite, which I did not expect out of this year. But
I'm considering to purchasing that Fortnite crew thing because then I'll get some V-Bucks back that I could potentially put towards getting Master Chief.
God,
Just to
you know,
further expand my locker of skins.
I'm glad I'm not the only person
But
that was like looking at that and going like, should I
think
get
though-
into that?
It's not just a skin thing. The game's fun to play. I mean, it's derivative of a
Yeah.
lot of
Oh,
other
totally.
things, but a lot of the ways that it takes those things and combines them is like makes for a slurry of fun kind of. I don't even want to say junk food because I think it's fine. I mean, it's fine to like that game. There's the thing I always had a problem with in the past was I didn't like the building and I didn't like the way the guns felt. And they continue to tune and tighten the game feel, I think, over time. Because recently I've found the guns to be they feel pretty snappy and good. I've felt much better
Yeah.
about playing, like the control of it has felt much better to me. They've put in a lot of new weapons over time. So, you know, I think there's a lot of fun to be had there. And you can always, the way they structure, like I've been playing a lot of Cold War, Black Ops Cold War, which I play with friends, the same friends that I've played a little bit of Fortnite with Sam and probably will with Allison, but then I've played some Fortnite with my my Call of Duty friends too. Because one of the guys' kid plays it. When we go to do like quests and missions in Cold War, it's basically you open the menu and you're like, oh my God, I have to do this. It's like, oh my God, I have to get like 3 revives in a Warzone match, which is hard to do. And it feels like a chore. Whereas when you open the Fortnite list of quests, it's like, oh, shoot people with sniper rifles. Okay, so I got to find a sniper rifle and do some damage with it. It's generally much more like fun stuff. And
Yeah, and I mean, I only
fun
look
to
at the
play.
quests. I've only looked at the quests for specifically to unlock skin stuff. So like for the Mandalorian, you can upgrade your armor with Beskar, which is I think is really fun.
Yeah.
But like I only
got
opened
the
that.
shoulder for that, and I didn't get anything else.
Yeah, you get the quests as you level up the
I
pass.
think I've gotten to the next
I've not
Beskar
got any
quest,
other
but
quests.
I don't. Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, it's confusing because the quests show
Yeah.
up over the other skins in the pack, or in the pass, so it makes it look like it's a quest for those skins, but it's actually for the Beskar. But yeah, that stuff is fun.
But yeah, I only look at the quests like once in a while, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I feel like doing a quest. Okay, I will do the quest where I use an assault rifle for this part, or where I didn't know there was a fishing mini game, and I always do the fishing mini game if I have the opportunity in Fortnite.
There's a ton of fish to catch. Too.
So I sometimes it's stuff like that, and there are. So because there's a fishing mini game, it is a JRPG, obviously.
Yeah. The other thing about it that they fixed, the thing that was my biggest pet peeve about Fortnite was there always used to be these cars everywhere, and you could hit them with your pickaxe, but you couldn't drive them, and they looked like pieces of the environment, not like interactable vehicles. And now almost every single car is drivable, so that like solved my biggest pet peeve with the game. And when you get in them, they play songs on a radio, and I have so far heard "I'm Blue" by Eiffel 65 and a song by Metric that I didn't recognize, but it was definitely Metric. So weird and interesting spread of like good and weird music in the Fortnite radio in the car. And people around you cannot hear the radio, so you can enjoy it. People in the car with you can hear it, but not enemies. So
That's weird.
yeah, I don't know. It's a weird game, and it's pretty fun, in my opinion. Not not like, wouldn't hyperbolize about it, but it's fun. And the thing that they're the most, not that no one had ever done crossplay before, but I think the thing that they managed to figure out that nobody else seems to have done, except for I guess Dauntless, but Dauntless fucked a bunch of other stuff recently up. So is Fortnite's a game that like you can play on all of your devices except iPhone, because Epic just whatever.
It's just that whole thing.
But you can play it on
The Fortnite civil rights movement.
Yeah, God, don't take any of this as an endorsement of that asshole or of Epic's continued foibles. But you can play it. I mean, Sam and I were talking. We were getting matched with PC players because we were playing through crossplay. So I just installed it on my PS5 so that he and I can play on PS5 without it being as big of a disparity there. And you can play across different devices, and your account goes everywhere that you go, and that stuff is really cool and is like pretty non-standard. At least you can you can play with your save anywhere in Destiny now, but you still can't play with other people on other platforms. So
It was so smart that we just like got into a party, and Pat was on PC, I was on PS4, and both using like just generic headsets attached, we were able to just chat. But I feel like the implementation was a bit weird in that the chat doesn't continue during loading screens. So we could chat in the lobby, but then when the loading screen hopped up, the conversation just cut.
That's what
I had to
Discord's
wait for
for.
Pat to load back in.
yeah, it's better though than not being able to chat.
Definitely.
Which is, I can't think of a game where you can voice chat. I'm sure it exists at this point, but even I don't think you could voice chat cross platform even when Rocket League first did PS4 and PC crossplay. But yeah, I don't know. It's fun. The skins are funny. The joy that I got out of loading in as the Mandalorian with my other two friends and starting to do the Orange Justice dance as Mandalorian, and all of us collectively just started to melt in laughter at how stupid it looked and how dumb that game is. That was worth the $8 that I spent purchasing the battle pass.
But Darth Vader can't be pink in Battlefield 2 or Battlefront 2.
It's definitely a wild thing that I know you're not trying to make this point. I'm making the point that it's wild as hell that Epic can just get anyone. I mean, I understand you were saying, Sam, that Arrow wasn't particularly popular, but it's still wild to me that Epic can just go to Warner Brothers and say, hey, we want to throw one of your prominent television characters into a monthly pass thing that you have to spend money on each month and that you can't get any other way. And if no one buys him in this period, you'll never be able to get him again.
And also,
It's-
like at this during the same time that there is a
Huge
Marvel
Disney
pack.
crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah, big
Multiple.
Marvel pack,
Yeah.
big. Then there's Master Chief. Then there's The Walking Dead in there at the same time. It's like all happening at once.
It's all starting to make
And-
sense.
And the show is off the air.
Yeah. That makes it make more sense as to why they get away with it. But it's still wild to me that all of that stuff. And it just kind of is like, okay, I understand now. Tim Sweeney read Ready Player One and thought it was high art and wanted to make that.
What do you mean? thought
Fortnite's
it
better
was?
than Ready Player One. Let's be honest.
I think the lore in Fortnite is definitely better than Ready Player One.
So is Fortnite kind of just becoming like Funko Pops but in video game form?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of Funko works because so much of it is repeatable. Like the character, not that they don't make any unique characters, but like it's so much a style of object. Whereas the visual styling of Fortnite, there's certainly the characters are pretty varied and diverse in terms of how they're animated. Like this arrow looks like the Stephen Amell arrow. It doesn't look like a super cartoonified. I mean, it is to a little degree because it is Fortnite, but it's not like it's like totally morphed and changed. I mean, and when you look at like the Black Panther skin, it looks like it could be in a Marvel video game. It doesn't look like it's a Fortnite version of Black Panther. So
Sure,
if
that
you
makes
mean
sense.
from the perspective of like, it has a ton of different media properties, sure.
Yes. Yeah, that's more what
but-
I'm going for. Not so much
I'm-
the style. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid the like. I personally can't stand the style of Funko Pops. I know a lot of people who think they're kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say any. I don't want to. There are people who are very critical of that style of design as it being kind of disposable, and I don't think that there's as many arguments to be made there about the ways that they implement characters in Fortnite. I think they do a pretty good job of that. Certainly plenty of arguments, subjective arguments to be made about the like how good it feels, how fun the game is, how they, take mechanics from other stuff and just kind of shoehorn them in there. But yeah, I don't know. The character implementation stuff is really cool. Part of me has a dream that someday they'll like pull a switch and then all of a sudden it'll have PvE stuff again that's fun and engaging and you can use your whole locker of stuff on it. It's a pipe dream. It'll probably never happen, but that's part of why
You just need like a horde mode game to get popular enough, and then they'll put that in there.
well there is in there. That's what Save the World is, but
don't you have to pay for Save the World, or is it free now?
I don't know.
You
I think
did,
you
but
I paid
did
a
have
lot
to
of
pay
money.
for it, yeah.
I paid
Yeah.
a lot of money for Save the World
but
before the Battle
now-
Royale existed.
Now, for them to like make it just part, cause aren't they also like separate executables or something?
No, they're in
No,
the same. You
same.
have to select Battle Royale every time you launch Fortnite, which is
Yeah.
stupid. But yeah, I don't know. My last thought is I think Man Cake is what put me over on purchasing the Battle Pass. Man Cake is one of the
Man
best
Cake's
I'm,
the
character
best.
I'm
designs.
legit
in the Battle
excited to
Pass.
get Man Cake. For
Man Cake is an
sure.
original character, and Man Cake fucking rules.
Yeah, like watching the trailer or whatever the cutscene for the new characters in the Battle Pass. I was just like, oh man, I'm getting this from the Mandalorian, but I can't wait until I get the Man Cake
I
skin.
Yeah.
don't know what that is. I'm guessing it's a man
Put
and
it
a
in the chat.
pancake.
Put it in the chat.
It's a man
it is
made out of
Made out of
Okay.
pancakes.
Okay. That's
He has
that lines up.
He's pretty great.
syrup on his head. He has a bandolier of butter, sticks of butter.
Yep, yes he does.
He's a character too, so there's a lot of different skins of him. This just happens to be the like
main
Desperado.
Running into him in a game was the exciting. I was like, oh my god, it's Man Cake.
He's an NPC too, because there's
Yeah.
NPCs in Fortnite now.
When
What?
Man
Wait,
Cake isn't on
wait.
screen,
Oh, yeah.
everyone
There's
should be asking, "Where's Man Cake?"
NPCs?
Yeah, you go to NPCs and then they give you Warzone missions.
Yep.
Oh,
like they're just the same. They're just the missions from Warzone that you can get.
can you murder the NPCs like Spelunky and then they get mad at you?
100% can kill the NPCs.
Okay.
They have a lot of health, but they're not particularly hard to juke and circle strafe, so they're pretty easy to kill. You can, in fact, if you just have a quest that's like deal 400 damage with shotguns, you can just find a shotgun and shoot an NPC to complete the quest. If it says 2 players, then it has to be players. But
Right.
the NPCs, there's also now a persistent currency called bars that you get as you play the game, and then you can save those bars and spend them almost as if they were a paid currency in the game to get better shit from the NPCs. It is not a paid currency. You can't purchase them at all. You have to play the game to get them. But you can like spend 500 bars and the NPC will drop a really good gun for you and stuff, which completely ruins the competitive complexities of casual unranked Fortnite play. But
So, Allison, what else have you been playing?
Yeah, I've played a lot of weird stuff this week. I've been putting a little bit more time into Hyrule Warriors. I've been looking at a lot of games, but I've put the most time into 2 games that I got for pretty cheap on the eShop. The first is Horus. Have any of you heard about that or looked
Heard of-
into
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
refresh my
I've
memory on
Seen
it.
it on Steam.
I think it was last year on PC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's last year, which is unfortunate that I'm only playing it this year because that game rules and is really, really good. And I'm like mad that I did not get to it until now. So I bought it for about $2 off the eShop because it was on sale, and it was. So I was like, okay, it looked pretty interesting, but I didn't know what it was. But the story and the character of the main robot Horus is really good, and it's mostly a platformer where you are navigating this world, and you have the big tool at your disposal is that you can basically stick to different surfaces, like play with gravity. So if you're, for example, like underneath a platform, you can jump up and you'll be on the underside of that platform, and you can kind of go all around it. So it's playing with gravity, and you have to and some of the puzzles in this platformer deal with that. So actually most of them do. But then they also deal with some of the other stuff like throwing items and stuff like that. So I'm really impressed with the game so far. The only thing that makes me a little bit hesitant about it is that I'm I think 6 chapters in, and I was like, how many more chapters are there? I'm very curious. It looked like there was like 22.
Oh wow.
So I was like, is this going to outstay its welcome at all? But I think that if you're interested in good platformer, sometimes challenging platformer, but also really satisfying and that feels really good to play and has a good story, I would definitely recommend it to you, because the story and the characters I'm really intrigued by. It's really interesting so far. So it's just I think it's really great, and I'm again mad that I didn't get to it until this year, because I'm like it might have been on my game of the year list last year.
Yeah. So when you say it's challenging, like what are they doing to make it challenging? Is it just like Super Meat Boy style, you have very simple controls, but it's hard? Or is it like there's mechanics that you're interacting with?
It's mostly the former, where there's just a lot of stuff that you have to navigate around. So, for example, there might be enemies that you are navigating around, or there might be like water, which Horus can't do, or electricity, which is a no-go. So it's just it's just kind of working. I guess kind of like a puzzle platformer, but it's more of like figuring out, okay, what's the route that I need to do to get through this, and then how do I execute it. It feels really fair to do so. It's never like, it's very rarely like, okay, there's a speed component or there's a or anything like that, but it does get challenging in terms of, okay, I need to jump down, jump up here, run around the gravity while also avoiding a chainsaw that's moving, and then jump up. So it's like there's just a lot of elements at play at once. And sometimes the areas that you're in aren't necessarily super like as straightforward as possible. So it's like you're figuring out, okay, where do I need to go? How do I need to get there? And stuff like that. But I think really, I think it does difficulty in platforming really well, in that it doesn't feel like cheap, and it doesn't feel unearned. It feels completely earned, and it feels legitimate too. But it's also one of those games where you'll die over and over and over.
How is the respawn system then? Like, is it kind of, it returns you to the start of the screen?
Usually, occasionally there's a little bit of checkpointing, but it's hard to know when that'll be. The other thing that's kind of cool is that on a platformer level is that there are these items that are basically extra hits that you can take, but they only get used up if you make it through the screen. So for example, if you have two of them with you and you use them up and then you die, they'll respawn with you. So they only will get used up if it actually made a difference for you, which I think is kind of neat, so that you're not like hoarding them or never wanting to use them, or using them and feeling frustrated if you lose your life. It just it feels like just an extra opportunity for you. Cool. There are a couple of times where there are certain things that were just generally not very, like, I don't want to say not fun, but where I was getting really frustrated, but it felt like kind of good frustrated, in that once I beat it, it was very satisfying.
Cool.
So yeah, it's just like, I'm very surprised by just how much I enjoy it, and also the story gets me emotional, so I'm very interested to see where it'll keep going.
It's kind of Douglas Adams inspired, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. And also I like robots, and it's a cute robot that I feel emotions to.
That is very on brand for you.
It is.
Sorry, guys, I've got to shoot and parent. I'll see you guys later.
You got to shoot a parent? Oh my god!
No.
Oh no.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Hard for me.
That's how it works in the UK. They
Sam
have
is
someone
just
eventually another parent will come to try to steal your baby, and you have to shoot them.
It's a battle
like
royale.
the Santa Claus. If you
Is
kill the
that the
parent, you
Castle
become the
Doctrine?
parent.
That game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Castle
Yeah.
Doctrine.
Yeah.
I think it's the Santa Claus. You kill the parent, and then you put on their suit, and then you become the parent.
Their suit is just their skin.
It takes a year of you to adjust to the role.
And then one day you
As
too
you
will have to,
slowly
someone else's
transform into
home
them.
and take-
You grow a
Man.
mustache.
How
Your
has no
eyes
one-
start going bad. You have to put on glasses.
How has no one made a movie like Battle Royale, but the island in the Battle Royale is just England?
Isn't that Braveheart?
I feel like if they ever make a PUBG movie, that'll be what happens. Like the island, if
They're making
Be
a
like-
weird sci-fi horror game in the PUBG universe.
Yeah.
well, but I bet you Uwe Boll will make the PUBG movie someday.
Oh
And
no!
it won't have anything to do with the game. It'll just be like, okay, it's an island. They shoot people. What islands do I know? I know England.
Okay. I can say Uwe Boll doing it, but what if Guillermo did it?
Then it'd be good.
I imagine he would do some shit with it.
Would he? I don't know.
like in a good way.
Maybe. But you could say that about anything. If Guillermo did the Fortnite movie, it would be good.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh God,
Yeah.
when is there gonna? There's gonna be a Fortnite movie.
Oh, absolutely.
It's called Ready Player One, and then there'll be Ready Player Two. What if Guillermo del Toro made Ready Player Two? Would that be a good movie?
Yeah,
No.
I mean, yes, but
I don't think so. It wouldn't be his fault.
has he made a bad movie?
No.
No.
But that would be his first because he'd be working with such just.
It'd be like the Donald
Trash
Trump
sources.
demanding he's in any movie that films in Trump Tower. Like that's how he ended up in Home Alone 2.
Yes.
So, but it's Tim Sweeney instead.
Yes. Yes. That is something that would happen.
Yeah, I'm looking through Guillermo del Toro's movies, and I don't see anything bad that he's directed, at least.
No, yeah, he's produced some stinkers, but he hasn't directed anything bad.
Yeah.
Oh, he
Death
directed Blade
Stranding,
2.
certified
Has
banger.
Has he produced any stinkers? I'm looking now.
Wasn't he just the producer on the Pacific Rim sequel?
Probably.
Was he even a
Probably.
producer on it?
He
I
was
don't
not.
see that
Not
listed.
according to
Oh.
IMDb.
There you go.
Oh,
It's
I
like,
thought
I'm
he
seeing-
was.
They just didn't let him. They didn't let him make the movie he wanted to make. So
Oh,
but yeah.
it says on Wikipedia that he produced it, but anyways, I don't think he had very much to do with
We
it.
will see about this. Oh, well, wait. Is that Scary Stories movie came out?
did it?
I guess
yeah.
came out last year.
Yeah,
I bet that
I think
movie
people
was
said that it
bad.
was. People I know liked it. I think.
I'm sure people liked it. It looks like it. Oh, okay. 78 on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Yeah, I knew people who
Not
really
terrible.
enjoyed it.
no, it's so that I mean I think that certifies it as not bad. He didn't direct that movie either. He just wrote and produced it. But
What else did you play, Allison?
I also found on the eShop a Pokemon clone called Nexomon Extinction.
Does
Hell yeah.
Nintendo know what they're selling?
I was like, whoa, this is on the eShop. People were saying it's really good. So I'm just like, okay, I'll pay $10 for this Pokemon clone.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah, no, I was like, it's if I like it, then it'll be great. It's fine so far. I don't know if I'd be as like effusive as some of the people who I've been seeing talk about it are.
Yeah.
But it is a genuinely solid Pokemon clone with some decent ideas actually, because it is more of a kind of fantasy, or sort of fantasy-ish RPG setting, and it operates a lot more like an RPG, like kind of a standard RPG than Pokemon does, where you're accepting quests. You're in this Tamers Guild of Nexomon, and you have to do these quests in this guild to help save the world from, I think, the evil Nexomon. I don't know. There's a lot of story in it so far, and I'm like, I know that there was a first Nexomon game, so I don't know if this is like all tied to that game at all, but it's like there was a lot of story where I'm like, what is this going to become? I don't know.
It is beloved on Steam. Like the user reviews for it. Are
Yeah.
through the roof.
Oh yeah.
So it sounds like it's a pretty good, and a lot of people say that like it is a clone, but it's doing a lot of things better than some modern Pokemon does.
That's not hard.
Yeah. I don't know if I would go
Yeah, sure.
that far. It's like, because I think that the thing that I've been struggling with is that I haven't been having as much fun with the actual gameplay of it as like a standard Pokemon game. But I think that the world and the general world and the general vibe of doing these quests and making it kind of more of a
It's more
you have
narrative,
to,
right?
more narrative, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way for it to go, instead of just being instead of just being like, okay, this is a Pokemon clone. It's like, no, this is going to be a Pokemon clone with more of a story, more of a kind of an interesting world too, because there are specifically, I think, like really strong Nexamon that are like terrorizing the land. So it's like, yeah, we're in like the city right now, and it's like the only safe place to be. And there's just it goes interesting places so far for being specifically you buy this if you want to play Pokemon, but you aren't buying Pokemon for whatever reason. So it's
I've had a lot of renewed talk about Pokemon as a genre because some friends of mine are getting into Temtem. It's an early access game that I'm very excited for it to hit 1.0. When it does, I'm going to play a bunch of it.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm really interested in playing Temtem for sure.
The bit that I've played is fantastic. I was kind of explaining, like, one of them was like, it's such a ripoff. I'm just going to play Pokemon because he's a Pokemon fan. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. But also, I don't know if you can call it a ripoff anymore because there's like multiple games that exist in this genre at this point.
Right.
And like, yes, Pokemon came up with it, but is like, I don't know. It's like Doom, a ripoff of Wolfenstein, like 3D. Like,
I mean, it's hard because I was thinking about this actually like the other day too when I was playing it, because I was like, at a certain point, if it's the genre rather than just a specific game, I think that it really ties the line, like veers closer to Pokemon than something like if you're playing, like I did earlier this year, I really enjoyed Digimon Cyber Sleuth. And so like the kind of monster collection aspect is there, but it's so different in how you collect the monsters and how you get different monsters and things like that, and how you operate on that game, that it feels completely different. All of the systems in Nexamon are very, very Pokemon.
Oh yeah, and that's true of Temtem too.
In terms, right. So it's like at a certain point, it's very clear that it's not just like, oh, we're inspired by all of the monster catching and hunting and capturing genre. It's very much we're inspired by Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I can't really fault them. And honestly, I would be thrilled to have more games kind of like that, because that, especially since Pokemon was the like first game I ever played, this is a very much a cozy game for me to play.
Yeah.
So just like sitting down and just playing through a couple of battles is really fun. And the the monster design is not as good as Pokemon, which I mean is I feel like it's kind of without saying, because Pokemon is just kind of, you know, I don't know. It's hard to describe.
I think all of these games can be uneven. I think there are Pokemon that suck and are boring, and I think there are probably Nexamon that are boring and just kind of.
I was trying to wonder like how much of it is nostalgia for me, because like Pokemon, if I'm playing a new Pokemon game and I see a Pokemon I recognize, I'm like, it's you. Whereas I don't have any of that with Nexamon, but some of the designs are genuinely fun, and there were a couple of them where they show up and I'm like, I gotta catch that. I gotta get that right now because it is so cool. I need it. So it's.
I could name maybe like 3 Pokemon that aren't like legendaries from the new Pokemon games. Like, there's just like past Ruby Sapphire. My brain, like I played those games not as much as I played those other ones, but I just have like no memory of like anything past Ruby Sapphire.
Did any of you play Robopon?
No, but I kind of want to, because that is very much a Pokemon.
Oh, it's very much a clone, and it came out the same time as Gold and Silver.
Yeah, and it looks exactly like Pokemon.
Oh yeah, like the main character looks like
graphically
almost exactly the same too.
Exactly, but that's a game that I'd be interested in playing. But also, since it was published by Alice, I don't know if it expensive.
It was made by Hudson.
Yeah. Oh yeah. On eBay, Robopon Sun version, because they had separate versions.
Only Sun in North America though.
Only Sun in North America though. Robopon Sun version, pre-owned, just a cart, is $90 on eBay.
God.
So
wow.
I don't think I'll be getting that.
Yeah, jeez.
Let's just go to Google and .rom or whatever, and you'll be good.
.gb.
There's Yokai,
I mean, if
Yokai
I'm-
Watch too.
Oh, yeah,
Listen,
sure.
if I'm going to be getting my why am I blanking on what it's called? Handheld
Nexomon?
gaming. No.
Oh, the analog pocket?
Analog
Pocket. There we go. I was just like, my brain just did not want to come up with that. Yeah, but if I'm getting my analog pocket, I want to use like a physical cart in
Totally,
it.
yeah.
But also, I don't want to pay $90 for Robopon.
For Robopon's son.
Yeah, especially since like it looks like if you look at the screenshots of it, it is like, oh, you are very much inspired directly by Pokemon.
Guess how many Robopon are in that game?
Oh, there's 151. I know
151.
that.
Yeah.
I fell asleep listening to Did You Know Gaming Facts about Pokemon the other night, so
Oh, yeah.
I heard a couple about Robopon.
And you woke up, and the only thing you could say was, "Did you know Shigeru Miyamoto himself coded the entirety of blue and red into gold and silver?"
Rip Iwata.
Yep,
Was it? Well, it was a water.
it was Iwata.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang, I fucked it up.
Close.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So-
Well, Pat, it's your turn. What do you plan?
First of all, I played a game this week that received some critical acclaim and kind of came out of nowhere, called Call of the Sea. It is a game that was published by Raw Fury, and now I have to double check who the developer is called Out of the Blue Games.
It's appropriate.
And they're a Spanish developer, which is cool. And Call of the Sea starts off as a very pretty, very vibrant looking kind of, well, this is going to be a walking sim with Lovecrafty story elements, which I'm always in for. That's like a genre and a kind of story that hooks me easily. No pun intended. But you pretty quickly like start to realize with this game that the puzzle solving is a lot more involved than what you get in an Edith Finch or other kinds of other walking sims. It's
Edith
much
Finch,
more
notedly good game since Sam's not here.
Yes. I don't know that this game is as good overall as Edith Finch either, but it's much more of a puzzle game. It's kind of more like a linear Myst with puzzles that are much less obtuse. There were two puzzles that I kind of had to stare at for a while to solve them, but for the most part, they're stuff that you'll buzz right through, but they're still really satisfying. And they can seem a little out there and weird, but part of it's because you're dealing with like some Lovecraftian tropes, like cyclopean geometries and weird power sources and stuff. So they use some like, there are no slide puzzles in it, but some of it is that kind of like, oh, this is a puzzle I've seen before, but it's being deployed in a cool way here. So the puzzle solving is fun. I think it is stunning to look at. Like, this game is absolutely gorgeous. It has a slightly stylized, or not slightly, I guess, a kind of heavily like stylized and kind of cartoonified visual treatment, but it's like still feels really unique. The lighting in it is outstanding. I think if you have Game Pass and you have a 1X or a Series X and a 4K TV, it's worth just probably downloading it to look at it for a little bit, because it is beautiful. I ended up thinking the story was really, really, really good. It starts off as very predictable, and you can kind of guess what the primary arc is about an hour or two into it. It's about 6 hours long. And you'll probably be right if you have any kind of familiarity with these sorts of stories, but it knows that the core of its narrative is very well tread. And so what it does is the details are all what are unique and kind of surprising. And it's clear that what it's trying to do is look at this kind of classic Eldritch kind of story and then twist it on its head a little bit in the third act to kind of go, yeah, I mean, this is, you figured out already where this was going, but hey, there's all this other information here that once you start to see it unfold is really cool. And I think it has like interesting characters, even though it's doing the thing where there are no other animated characters in the game. It's like, it's just your character kind of self narrating, and then a couple of other voice actors that kind of come in when you get some like flashbacks and stuff.
Almost are they faceless when they do that?
Yeah, there isn't a single other. It's very much like not even like Edith Finch.
Firewatch or something.
Yes, Firewatch is a great comparison. It's just like Firewatch in that regard. In fact, the main character is voiced by Cissy Jones is her name, who voiced Delilah. Was that her name in Firewatch?
Yep.
Yeah,
that was her.
So the same. She's affecting a bit of a different, like kind of a 1930s American accent in this game, so she doesn't sound the same, but it's the same voice actress. And she does a great job. The character is really interesting. And Yuri Lowenthal actually plays her husband.
Nice.
And his lines are a little more limited, but he's definitely the person who has the second most lines. He's really good.
Oh, he's married to
The
Spider-Man.
plot is she's her name's Nora. She has this mysterious illness. It's 1934. Her husband's been away for months trying to find a cure for her illness, and he ended up on an island off the coast of Tahiti. So then Nora goes to this island to try to find him, and turns out that the island, and she's been having all kinds of dreams of like weird spires and stuff, and turns out the island has a lot of crazy stuff in store for her. So that stuff is interesting. They hired they used some Polynesian imagery in it, and I thought it was cool. They actually hired a Polynesian cultural consultant to ensure that stuff is done right and respectfully. There's also one Polynesian character in the game, which they appear to have hired at least a French Polynesian person or a person who was Polynesian directly. So I thought it was cool that they seemed to be concerned about like the cultural representation in the game. There's a very light touch on I mean, how shitty racism is. Like, I don't want to say that this game has anything deep to say about the time period, but it certainly takes a moment to sort of stop and go like, hey, we're examining this concept that is born out of racist storytellers' xenophobia, but the game is not examining those themes, but it does kind of stop for a second and kind of acknowledge that those themes exist and are shitty. So I think it's really good. I think it's worth everybody's time. If you have Game Pass, I'd say I would go so far as to say it's a must play unless you absolutely hate adventure games. I think if you have I almost, like, I know Alex, your Eldritchy horror stuff isn't your favorite. I would almost say I don't think you need to cram it in before Game of the Year, but if you have Game Pass at some point in the future and you're looking to kill an afternoon, I think this game does enough with those tropes and goes in a different direction than a lot of those stories in the end that it's worth seeing, even if you typically don't like those kinds of stories.
Cool.
So yeah, I don't know. I think the only thing, if you really hate walking sims, then it's probably, even though this has a lot of puzzles, it might not be for you, because it is still a lot of kind of slowly moving around the environment and looking at objects in the environment and hearing dialogue about the objects, and there's a lot of notes cluttered around and stuff and things to look at. So if you can't stand that kind of sort of slow movement, first person wandering around picking stuff up to read, then you might not like it. But I think it's really cool overall. I'm really impressed. I don't know if it'll hit my Game of the Year list or not, but it's definitely in the running for sure, because I liked it.
Nice. That's one I am maybe going to check out. We've only got like a week until we do our game of the year
know.
stuff, so I'm like, what am I going to finish?
If you have some time in there to play it, it will probably end up making my list because I really liked it. I don't know that I would, not to start game of the year conversations here, but I don't know if I would push it for our group list because I don't know that it'll connect with anybody else. Part of it is because I already like that genre of both storytelling and game. So,
Sure.
but I think it's objectively of a high quality. I played it on PC. I don't know if they've pushed updates recently. There's a little bit of like, yes, this is clearly an indie game kind of jank to it at points, but nothing that broke the game or ruined it or anything. There's one point where I like, it's little stuff like this. There's letters that you pick up that you find that are from Nora's husband that Yuri Lowenthal reads. I think they're supposed to have a little like vignette of like images that play, but the images never loaded for me. It never felt like I was missing anything because he described like he reads it all, and it doesn't feel like you need the images, but there would just be kind of like a blank like frame in the middle of the screen that didn't have anything on it whenever those letters came up.
Sure.
So there's little things like that of like audio cues missing at times, but it was nothing that was that hampered the experience to me or made me like feel like, oh no, this was ruined because I didn't get the vignette. So
Yeah, totally.
Also, I played the hardest video game that I've ever played in my life this week.
Dark Souls.
Fortnite.
Demon Souls. He's finally.
Oh,
I
right.
played
Sorry,
some
Demon
Demon Souls, and I haven't really talked about it much because it's a 10-year-old video game, 11-year-old video game. But no, Demon Souls is tough, but this game makes Demon Souls look like a
Something for
cakewalk.
babies.
Yeah. So on a whim, I picked up a game called DJ Max Respect V.
Yeah.
I think it's
Max
V, not
Respect
5, but maybe I'm wrong. It is, if you haven't, I had only ever seen DJ Max games in arcades. I was not aware that there were like home versions of them.
Oh yeah. The PSP one was
and-
really good.
If you haven't played DJ Max before, it's kind of the game series that inspired Rock Band. I think it's from before Rock Band.
Oh yeah,
And Guitar Hero. Yeah.
definitely.
It's a series that definitely inspired those kinds of games. It's kind of like if in Rock Band you were just hitting the buttons instead of, or Guitar Hero, if you were just hitting the buttons instead of having to strum a guitar along with it. So you have between 4 and 6 lanes, and then you just have a key or a button for each lane, and you're hitting those buttons as notes fall down a highway and hit a line. And then there's wrinkles to it, of course, where like sometimes there'll be an extra button on either side that you have to hit that's like a different color, and then there's like a sort of a overpower mechanic where called Fury, where you hit the space bar on PC when you have a meter that fills up, and then if you can fill the meter up again fast enough, you can increase the combo rate. And you have a health bar that goes down as you miss notes. A big thing about it is that it is it tells you like the degree to which you succeeded, so it'll give you a percentage. Like you can kind of miss the note, but if you can manage to get your finger on the key in time, you can at least salvage your combo, even if you don't get a lot of points for it. And it's incredibly good. It's like this game is like kind of the perfect rhythm game. In some ways, I would say that you could just get this game and then rhythm game. You don't need more rhythm games because it has over 150 songs with a bunch of DLC tracks as well. Every song, I think literally every song in the game has a unique animated background. Sometimes they look like anime titles. Sometimes it's just like cute, like chibi cats running around in the background, and it changes all the board stuff to be cat themed. Sometimes it's like specific, like they have the songs from League of Legends in there, like the KDA songs. So that's just like it plays the music video to Popstar while you're playing that song, and it rules. It's like this presentation is super slick. I love it has my favorite title screen of the year. This version of the game came out this year. my favorite titles card of the year, I think, because when you open the game, it has like the logo on and it looks slick, and then it says press any key to pay respect, and that's that's how you start. And it has really cool modes. It has this air mode that's reminiscent of the most recent Guitar Heroes live mode, where you're playing kind of a feed of different songs that are available that rotate, and with different difficulty conditions. It has a mode that's sort of freestyle where you can set whatever difficulty conditions you want. The difficulty is super adaptable because there's difficulty levels for how many notes there are, and then you also set the number of buttons you want to play with. So you can play with 4 or 5 or 6 buttons.
I don't remember that in the PSP game. So that's nice.
This game is seems like the most refined version of this that they've ever made. What I will say is, in order to unlock songs, you have to play through the campaign of the game. I have never seen anything this hard before. Like, absolutely holy shit. I spent, you get through the first 6 levels. They're chunked into, the levels each have between 2 and 4 songs in them. And they require you to fulfill certain conditions. It's not just beat the song. It's like get a certain number of points, build a certain level of multiplier, hit a certain combo level, don't miss a certain number of notes. There's more too. And then they have a bunch of different modifiers. So like the first 6 you play through and you're like, oh, this is great. I like rhythm games. The second one, I was like, oh, I'm getting into 5-button stuff now. This is getting tough. And then immediately hit a level that was like, I don't think I'm physically capable of doing this. This is like 7 levels out of 60 into the game. And then I spent, I think, around 3 hours practicing that level over and over and over again, and finally did it. Thankfully, the music rips. It's really good. It's a lot of like stuff that sounds like it could be anime soundtracks. And then a lot of like J-pop and J-rock stuff that's like really, really good. So it was okay to listen to it for 3 hours, but it was literally painful on my hands. By the time I beat it, I was like sweating, and I like yelled when I beat it finally. And so after that level then, and that was just really hard because it was really hard. Then the next level was also really hard, but it kicked on the modifier where the notes disappear after they enter the screen. So then you have to be able to perfectly time it because you have to rely on the rhythm because you can't see the notes at all anymore. You just get to see what they are gonna be. And I had to practice that for 2-3 hours. And then the next one I hit after that was one that was like, so a unique thing this game does that I haven't seen before is you can increase the speed. And I can't tell if it's actually increasing the speed of the track. I don't think it is. I think what it's doing is adding more notes and making them fall faster. So you're like, and it gets, you look at videos of this, it gets insane. And so then I hit one where you can't fail more than 15 times. If you hit 15 fails, you fail out of the level, and it's steadily increasing speed as you succeed. So you have to like strategically try to get past sections, because there's going to be parts where you're going to fail. You're going to hit a missed note because it's going so fast and the section is so complex that it's impossible to hit every note. So I finally beat that one too. And then the one after that, I don't even remember what the modifier was, but I just was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to complete this. And I'm now 9 levels into the game out of 60. So it is, it seems like you can play the campaign for hundreds of hours because it's so fucking hard.
That's really great though. Are there any community created like tracks and maps?
So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they exist. And I will say, I don't know if I think you can buy a pack that unlocks all the songs. So if you don't want to play the campaign, the pack is on sale for like $3 right now. And then it's normally $10. It's kind of shitty to say like, we made the campaign ridiculously hard, and instead of just putting a thing in the menu that unlocks the songs for you, if you don't care, if you don't want to earn them, you have to pay us. But there is a route around it. But as far as community made stuff, it doesn't have Steam Workshop, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's mods.
I
Mods and
think
stuff, yeah.
with Steam Workshop stuff, I think you probably run into like DMCA, like
Copyright
yeah,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
IRAA coming and kicking down Gabe Newell's door,
It definitely has.
taking his knives.
It definitely
in New Zealand.
has custom. It has tools for custom content, but I think it's more like you can. When you play this game with 6 buttons, it's essentially playing an instrument. I mean, like because it's the kind of game like Rock Band where you're not like I played a lot of Spin Rhythm this year as well. Spin Rhythm is really fun, but it's not a 1-to-1 like you click the button and a sound plays. It's more like you're trying to hit the notes. The song plays either way, if I recall. This game you're actually playing the notes, so you're tied to, so it's giving you a note highway, but if you don't hit the key, the sound doesn't play. And when you're in between notes, there's not the same penalties for hitting a note that hasn't been called for. You actually could freestyle hitting notes in between, and it sort of switches up what instrument you're playing based on where you are in the song. Sometimes you're playing drums on your ring finger and piano on your index and middle finger, but you could, I think it has a custom mode where you can sort of set an instrument up and then play it using the keys and kind of sequence it. So
That's cool. Have you ever played Tap Sonic?
a little bit.
Yeah, same developers, same studio.
Yeah. I think this developer may have made the Cytus games.
I don't think so.
If not, they're definitely like
They're
a
very
link
similar.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a link there because they put there's Cytus packs for this game. So you can get the songs from Cytus in this game.
I don't think they made it, but
It may not be that they specifically made it, but I could have been like, yeah, Rayark made Cytus and NeoWiz made this game.
yeah,
But
they're a Taiwanese developer who made Cytus, and then these guys, Muka, are Korean. So
Yeah. But it's very similar in a lot of ways. And I think that if you like rhythm games, you should probably buy this game in the Steam sale.
yeah, we should.
Because it's only $18.
Oh, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about the difficulty, but I am like kind of
What's
should-
nice?
Sorry.
like
No, go for it.
interested because I love the rhythm game.
I would still recommend it if you. I actually thumbs down it on Steam in a fit of rage, but I wrote a 4-paragraph. I wrote a 4-paragraph review that was like, "Hey, this game actually rules. It's just so fucking hard. I can't recommend it to people." But I think I would say, Allison, that it still would be worth picking up, because at the end of the day, if you can buy the unlock pack if you want to, you can wait for it to go on sale again, and it has a fair number of songs unlocked right off the bat. And if you play it, you don't have to play it on an ultra hard mode to enjoy playing it. You can go into the freestyle or the air mode and play the like less hard songs. It's just the campaign that gets ridiculous fast.
Yeah. Those games are really satisfying. If we ever want to have a DJ Max cast, I'll invite Cheska on, because she's played like all of them and like can play them at a high level. So yeah, that stuff is awesome. It's really have you watched the videos of people playing it at a high level? Like
It's ridiculous.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching, like, you sent a clip of like that super hard song you mentioned earlier, and I was watching on my phone screen. I'm like, I can't tell if there's like motion blur or something, and these are
Yes.
like double notes, or if it's just a single note and my screen just can't keep up.
It happens. That happens. Sometimes the refresh rate of my monitor can't keep up with how fast the screen. It's not tearing, but it is like a weird motion blur.
Yeah.
It's not that bad when you're playing it. It looks like it would make it really hard to play, but you have to play the songs over and over to get them down anyway. So you kind of realize what time you kind of start to observe when it's motion blur because it's going so fast, and when it's actually multiple notes.
That's why you got to get a high refresh rate monitor, Pat.
I mean, I was thinking about it while I was playing it, because it's really fun, and the music in it is so good. So
You one of those 1080p 320 hertz monitors.
yeah, totally.
Duh.
It's the future, esports, baby.
Purely for DJ Max.
I was looking at there's custom keyboards that people make for it.
Oh, wow.
Apparently not great, sadly, but from like the one that was like sort of mass produced. But I definitely would like to figure out some kind of custom controller situation, because I think I would enjoy it more if I had like you can fully customize the
Oh my
keys.
God.
But
I just looked
Steel
online.
Battalion.
I just looked online. There's something called DJ DAO, DAO, and they make some controllers. One of which is for DJ Max, and good lord, those look.
wow, these are weird.
Yeah. Apparently,
These
it's,
are weirder than what I was seeing. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good looking DJ Max controller, though.
yeah, it is.
Look at that thing.
It's huge. It's
Yeah,
also
it's too big.
$350-ish. Wow,
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's too much money.
4 kilograms.
that's crazy. But no, DJ Max rules,
Yeah, yeah.
and it is extremely hard. The PSP game, I love that game, but yeah, it's stupid hard at some points.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I really want to try to push through it some, because I'm curious to see if it stays as hard as it is. I don't know. But it's good. That's for sure.
Eventually you're gonna have that hard song come back up, but then it's also gonna have the disappearing notes.
Probably. That's
Well, with that, I think moving on to Alex. No, you got one more
Pat,
game.
Pat had
got
one more
thing.
one more
one
thing.
more quick thing to hit on. Won't take as long for this one.
We could have. I should have segued into this from the
It's
last
fine.
one.
So my dream happened. Finally, people that I know purchased Sea of Thieves, the Call of
Which
Duty
is
gang that
funny
I have.
because you don't need to buy it. You just subscribe to Game Pass for $5 or whatever.
I have
I
to
know.
listen to them complain about subscription services almost weekly. Anytime a show comes up, they're like, "What do I have to subscribe to this time?" They think that subscription services is going to kill the entertainment industry, so they'll never in a million years subscribe to Game Pass, which I think is ridiculous. But whatever.
But they bring us great things like Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh god.
I would argue that they each spent $20 on Sea of Thieves, which is like 4 months of PC Game Pass,
Mhm.
and they
And
could have
not
played
even a
bunch of other
fraction of the
games.
games.
Yes, but whatever, it's fine. They finally purchased Sea of Thieves in the Steam sale for $20, and that game is so good. It's like we did a very long Gold Hoarders quest, which is where you dig up the treasure chests, which I had a ball with, and one of my friends had a ball with. One of the other ones was like, "Do you just dig up treasure chests in this game?" And I was like, no. Tomorrow night we'll do a Tall Tale. So we did the first Tall Tale, and the Tall Tales are like more narrative. They're kind of, the thing I like in them too is like an RPG adventure, where you go to the start point and you talk to somebody, and then it starts, and it's like it kind of like takes you through a bunch of different Sea of Thieves content and like kinds of content woven together with a narrative. Pretty light narrative, but this one we got a book, and the book described where this shipwreck was located, which had a captain's log on it that we needed to find this artifact called the Shroud Breaker. And we were going to use the Shroud Breaker to pierce the shroud, which is this like veil of clouds that hides an island with tons of treasure on it. So we had to like go find this shipwreck and then dive down into the depths and search the shipwreck for a captain's log, and then use the shipwreck to figure out where they dropped a chest. And it was like a navigational log of like, first we were here, and then we passed by this kind of thing, and then we passed by this kind of thing. We had to like retrace their steps. We had to solve a couple of like kind of Myst style puzzles on an island. And it was really, really fun. We came away from it, and then like when you finish it, we got a cool cosmetic item, and we got the breadcrumbs to do the next part in the story, where we have to like, we found the Shroud Breaker, but we have to find these gems to sock it into it to give it its power. And to do that, we're gonna have to hunt down some legendary pirate lords. And just it was really fun overall. And then after they called it a night. I just kind of went around and killed some skeletons and got their skulls to level up my Order of Shadows XP so I can get some cool cosmetics the next time that we play. And it's a fun game. I think that game is really smart in the way that by not having a power level or anything, it meant that even though I've played probably 20 hours of it over its lifetime, we could all jump in together and I looked cooler than them, but like that was it. Otherwise, we were just able to play together. There was no like, oh, whose quests are we going to do and who's farthest behind so we can level them up like you get even in MMOs with good level syncing. This was just like, get a game going, let's go. They also added a three-person ship to it specifically for 3 people, which is great for us because that was the one thing in the past. You could either play a duo on a very small ship or with 4 people on a very large ship. So now there's kind of a medium size in between. That's really cool. Yeah, I think it's a great game, and more people should, if you're opposed to streaming services, buy it in the Steam sale while you can, or on Xbox in the Microsoft sale, because it's great and worth your time.
Nice. That's another game where I wish I could play, but like between time zones and so many of my friends being like console gamers, it's
well, if they have an Xbox, it has full crossplay.
They swapped over from the 360 to the PS4 because of Bloodborne mostly.
That's their mistake. That's their mistake.
Hey, they played Bloodborne, so I
mean, they could get an Xbox Series S, and then there you go.
Yeah, well, if Microsoft was making them.
I saw one of those in a grocery store not long ago.
Series S?
It's like clearance.
Huh. No.
It's like
it was a Series S. It was a new
the new one.
The new one. But it's just in a grocery store, just like in a clearance bin or something.
No, it was in the electronics section. I was shocked that it was.
Wait, your grocery stores have electronics sections?
Oh yeah. Depending on the store, you can get like a Fred Meyer.
Yeah, this was at a Fred Meyer. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Fred Meyer has like home goods, clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like a Walmart, but less.
Okay. We have
smaller.
Stuff similar to that. Sure.
Yeah.
Less it's harmful to the economy.
It's like a grocery store, and union. The ones here anyway are union businesses, so I like shopping.
Yeah.
But it's mostly a grocery store. Like over half the store is groceries.
It's like a Tim Hortons.
Yeah, it's like a Tim Hortons.
It has a Starbucks in it.
It's someone's name, so it's like a Tim Hortons.
Oh, it's like a Dunkin' Donuts. Got it.
That's not sure. That famous man, Dunkin' Donut.
You could go to Fred Meyer and start on the food side and get some fried chicken and a Starbucks latte, and then go buy an Xbox Series S, and then end up and buy some clothes, and then end up in the garden center. Pots and plants.
The one near my mom's house, like even got in like a place to buy beer, like growlers of beer, and I think you can actually drink at the store now.
Oh my god! We'll get back. I promise this will be a 2-second thing.
No.
Well, no. Okay. I promise it'll be a 2-minute thing. So my favorite grocery store of all time, I forgot what it's called because it went in after I moved away from Michigan. When I was visiting, a close friend of mine was like, we have to go to the grocery store, and I was like, I'm visiting, I don't want to go to a fucking grocery store while I'm visiting. And she was like, no, trust me. And we went to this grocery store, and they have a bar in it, and you can just buy a beer and then shop for groceries and walk around with a beer and like buy groceries.
Okay, that sounds like the best way to buy groceries.
It rules. You can get tanked, and I didn't have to drive because she was driving. So I had like 3 or 4 beers while we wandered around there, because it's like a really good grocery store too. So we were there for like 2 hours, and I was like, I'm gonna drink a bunch of beers.
That seems dangerous.
Okay, yeah. If you have to drive back with your groceries, just thinking about that, that's like,
But I mean, you could buy beer at a grocery store and drink it in the car before you start driving. So you have to be responsible about how you
can't buy beer in a grocery store here.
Or
that's
here.
Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. In Canada, you have to go to the beer store.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true here in Minnesota too.
I don't think I could live in a state or a country where I could live in Canada because I get healthcare, and that's a fair trade-off.
I can buy like whiskey in a grocery store here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We buy liquor and hard liquor and
Not in
Fred
Oregon,
Meyer
but
near me had too much theft, so they had to put the liquor in a cordoned off section. You have to pay where you buy it, like in the Walmart
cool.
electronics department.
you can't even like. Can you look at it? Can
Yeah.
you like peruse?
Yeah.
Or
It's
is it
like
just
a-
like you
it's
have to
like a
go in and
whole-
know what you want?
It's
Okay.
Stare
like there's like a
longingly?
it's like there's a liquor store inside of the grocery store, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, if-
Yeah.
What other kind of establishments would you want to just be able to freely drink in? I don't drink, so I don't care. But
Well, so
like-
I've been to Paris where you can freely drink everywhere, and that's the best solution. And they also have really good public transit there, so you don't have to worry about driving.
sure. Like I know there's some movie theaters you can do that, right? Like the Draft House kind of stuff.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Most-
they're like a lot of the AMC's and stuff have alcohol.
Yeah. I think
Which kind of slaps because getting a very large drink before Detective Pikachu was the best choice.
Oh yeah, I have had some pretty great experiences drinking in a movie theater before, for sure. I think haircuts. If I could drink while I'm getting a haircut, that would be.
I don't want hair in my beer. I don't want like.
true. you
Yeah,
put it in-
see, that's
like
the
I'm
issue.
stuck.
There's solutions. to
Like
this.
my hands are
think
like a
under the
sippy cup.
thing. Do I need like one of those crazy straws like to come up and
Sure.
out
Oh my
of
God.
like the bib? And
Well,
then,
if you're-
like,
Okay.
some
If you're
glasses
if you're
action?
having that apparatus set up, you may as well get it at the fucking dentist.
It's when they rinse your mouth, just spray beer in your
Don't
mouth.
worry about it, Pat. Don't worry about it.
No,
don't worry
that
about-
doesn't work. 'Cause
don't worry
you're
about the
gonna
blood
have
and
your
everything.
teeth. Now,
Swish some vodka and then like a spit.
let me think. I wish, I
With fluoride?
don't wish this were true because it would be bad, but I wish that I had a personal pass and some of my friends had personal passes to just wander around and drink at PAX.
Oh
Because-
God, no, that sounds like a terrible
It would
idea.
be terrible because most of the people there could not be trusted with that kind of freedom. As someone who doesn't have an issue with, like, I would never drive while drunk, and also I don't turn into like a bat. Like, I don't have an issue while I've been drinking. I just me, but a little louder when I drink. It would be fun for me because I would be super nice still and friendly, but of course a lot of people when they drink become less pleasant to be around.
That's the best part of conventions, though. It's like the late night panels. You go, everybody has a beer, everybody's
Yes.
a little tipsy, everybody's just hanging out, and it is like that is like
And
one of the things that I've missed most this year.
In panels,
is,
nobody
like,
cares.
is like late night game, is like late night convention panels where everybody has alcohol and we're all just kind of like, this is the casual panel. I don't know.
When I was hanging out with Dan Reichert after a Giant Bomb panel one year, he had a 24 pack, I want to say, of some shitty beer.
That's not surprising.
And he was
This
just
is on brand.
and he was like, I'm sorry I can't offer you beer, I just don't want to get in trouble. And I was like, we were all like, it's fine, those of us who are of age can go get a beer from the hotel bar if we want.
That reminds me
but
of-
yeah, he was just kind of in the lobby slamming back like PBRs or something.
I didn't realize this was just in the lobby.
Or Rainiers, maybe.
Honestly, this is like so on brand. It's amazing.
After
Great
PAX
guy.
East in like 2012, I want to say, I went to a bar with Jeff Gersman, Adam Boyes, and Ryan Davis, and there was like probably like 15 of us there, and Ryan Davis could slam a lot of beers.
Yes.
Like it was a lot. Like
That
it
is
was
my
almost
understanding.
alarming. Like it was like how, but
He's a big
yes.
man.
Nobody you can't find me based on this podcast where I live, so nobody can arrest me. The first beer I ever had in a bar was when I was 18. I was not old enough to purchase alcohol, but Garnet Lee purchased a shot for me.
That's interesting.
The what's it called? The arcade in the GameWorks, right
Yeah.
outside of the Washington Convention Center when I went to PAX when I was 18.
That
It's really funny.
is bizarre.
Yes, it was my first ever not legal, but first ever drink in a bar.
Yeah, that's not legal. Just FYI.
Was doing a shot with Garnet Lee.
Anyways, Sea of
I was
Thieves.
just gonna say last thing as if we're talking about places we'd want to be able to drink, the DMV.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Just,
Definitely.
you have to have someone to drive you there and pick you up or whatever, ride the bus. But yeah.
Do your driving
Anyway.
test. Don't do that.
Yeah, 16 years old, just pounding them. Take your driving test.
I don't think I had drinks at 16, but I was not.
Pound on.
Wow, we're just.
What statute of
This is
limitations?
not.
man.
This is not a family-friendly podcast. Do
Nobody's
not let
gonna
your
get
children listen
just
to
to be
this
clear. Just to be
podcast.
clear, I lied to Garnet Lee and told him that I was old enough to drink. So before anyone goes after that man, he was a saint. He didn't just he offered a round of shots to people hanging out, and then a waitress brought a tray over with a bunch of shots, and I took one. So just to clarify that story, it was not Garnet Lee saying, "Would you like me to purchase a shot for you, young man?"
You underage person. Like, yeah, no.
Hey kiddo.
was- They did not card me when I entered the bar or when I sat down at the bar next to him.
Wow. Well, Alex,
Hey.
it's time. What you been up to?
Oh man, I finished a few games actually, which is nice. Finished some of the ones we wanted to kind of talk about with Game of the Year. Which one do you guys want to talk about of the finished ones? There's two there. Or we can talk about the one I haven't finished. I'll let you all decide. We have a
I've
list in front
played
of us.
one of these. I've played two of these.
You have played Paper Mario, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's jump into that because I haven't finished that. So I've been playing Origami King, which kind of by Allison's recommendation because she loves it so much. And I think I'm about 10 hours in. I've beat like 4 bosses, I think.
How many of like the elemental things have you beaten?
2. And
Okay,
I-
so you beat the dragon.
Yeah, I have like the blue streamer stuff on
Okay,
there.
yeah.
Pretty much done.
So you're a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's no hour count in there. I haven't really been keeping a close eye on it. So,
Yeah.
let's say
Yeah.
around 10 hours or something like that.
Nintendo just pops into the end of the year and says, "You've played 980 hours of Switch this year."
Oh, that
Yeah.
was me this year where I was like, oh God, don't call me a core gamer, please.
That's the one. Okay. Well, to be a little bit more meta with it, I like the Switch that it shows you how many hours you've played, but it doesn't show you until like a week after you've started playing it. It's
Yeah.
so dumb. Like it's like, oh, you
Yeah.
played this recently, and then after a week, it's like, oh, you played 10 hours of it. It's like, oh, okay, great, thanks. But yeah, so I mean, I've played a decent amount of the Paper Mario games. I think the only one I didn't play is Super Paper Mario, the advanced one, right?
Super Paper Mario is the Wii one.
Or Wii, yeah. I didn't play that one.
I think I am a defender of that game, but yeah.
Okay, I have not played that, but I played Sticker Star, I played Thousand Year Door, and the OG, and so I've now played
No
this one
Color
as well.
Splash?
No, I guess I haven't played that one. I forgot about that.
I haven't played it either, so
Yeah. So, but like, yeah, I enjoy the series. I think they're witty. They have good writing. The characters are generally pretty good. And this one, I think in particular, has really, really beautiful art. Like, especially when you get into that second area, the Autumn Hills, whatever, the Autumn Mountain, where it's all like just autumn tones, like red and orange and yellow. And that like it's playing the really lovely music. Like that stuff, like the tone setting is perfect. Like it's really, really good. And the way it animates and stuff, like when you're going through the tall grass and all that kind of stuff is just lovely. Music has been good. The characters have been weird. Like they've been good, but they've been weird. In like the Toads, there's so many of them, and like basically the mechanic, if you haven't played the game, is there's just Toads everywhere that they've been hiding, or they've been like put into weird situations
They've been folded up and hidden or like attacked, and they're
yeah, so you're finding them in the environment and stuff like that, and there's like so many of them, like almost to the point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to actively look for all of these because otherwise you're going to go insane. Like there's too many Toads, but sometimes you find them in really funny spots. Like, I don't know, did you guys look through the telescopes after the first boss?
Oh
Or-
my God, yes.
where you look
And
at
you
the
just see a
Yeah,
face, and you're like, oh my god.
you look at the left one, it's like, oh, there's the castle with all the streamers. You look at the right one, and it's just a toad face like right on the camera, and it's like, oh my god.
slightly jump scary. Where you're
It was
just, like,
really-
look through it, and you're like, ah.
It was very funny though. Like,
Yeah.
so it has a lot of really good moments like those. I will say I really like everything in the overworld, but I fucking hate the combat. Like,
That's
I
fair.
really hate the combat.
I don't hate it, but at the same time, it is the least good part of the game.
Yeah,
For
like
sure.
I think
yeah.
everything else about it is spectacular, but the combat is, it's tedious. I think it would have been really good if only the boss battles had the mechanics they do, but the fact that
Because I feel like it works best during the boss battles.
yeah, it does. It works really well during those, and like I think it's actually kind of fun during those, like because it gets more
Yeah.
unique. You're working with more rules that it kinds of sets up, and like they have unique attacks that you're kind of having to evade, but also like bear in mind and stuff like that, which is really cool. But the fact that you're like, if you accidentally run into a random enemy and then it's like, oh, you have to quickly solve this puzzle that's probably not too hard, but like it's just that it's going to take you like 30 seconds or flee, which sometimes just fails. Like I started just fleeing battles because I was just kind of tired of doing them randomly. And then,
Yeah, and I mean, you really, since there's no experience points or anything,
yeah,
you really don't gain all that much from the battles.
Correct.
So you don't really need to do them if you don't want to, really.
yeah, totally. And like, but if you do accidentally bump into something or like it,
Right.
it jumps at you from a cliff or something, like, cause that happens.
Yeah,
Then
there's
it's like,
certain moments where you have to do it for sure, but
yeah. And like those, it's just like, I've found a lot of times where it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna turn my Switch off and come back to this later as soon as a battle starts, because I'm just like, I don't want to do this right now. Then I come back and I turn my Switch on. I'm like, oh damn it, I have to start with a battle. It's like, so it. I don't know. I've not been loving that part of it. Everything else has been really good. I'll say the battles also makes it feel kind of like it has some accessibility issues, I think, for some people. Like, I would say pretty harsh accessibility issues, because like a lot of the random battles give you like 20 seconds, and that's 20 seconds to absorb
Yeah.
the board and move everything around and get everything set up. And like, I feel like the timer doesn't serve any purpose other than to make you more
No.
stressed. Like, yes, there's
Yeah.
ways around it. You can hold the plus button and expend your coins to get more time, which that's dumb.
and
or
and
you
there
can
are items
there's
where
an
you can
item.
get more
yeah.
time, but it's like, but I'd agree with that, where it feels like it's not adding anything really valuable to the experience.
Yeah, like the only thing it adds is a little bit of stress, and then it makes you spend some coins. Like, it doesn't really feel balanced in that sense. It just kind of feels like it's tacked on because they felt like they had to. I don't know, but yeah, I'll say the boss battles are really good. Like, if the circle battles of just the normal things were like some kind of sub mechanic that you only saw every now and again, and everything else was just standard Paper Mario, it would have been way better in my opinion. But as it is, like, that's kind of been my only barrier. The rest of it has been really exceptional, but yeah, I've just been, I thought I would play like 20 hours of this over the break, but I played like an additional 5 or 6 because I was just like, oh, I don't want to do these battles.
Patrick Levick actually wrote an article for Vice about exactly what you're talking about, with like, he has specific problems dealing with like positioning shapes. And so the battle
Sure.
system was like really frustrating and kind of upsetting for him to try to work with, because it is so specifically a thing that his brain doesn't handle well.
Sure. Yeah, if you have like depth perception issues, like I could definitely see that, because you're having to consider, the battles happen on circles, and you can either move the circles around, or you can go in kind of straight lines, so you can move stuff across the circle directly, like
Yeah.
diagonally. I
Concentric
guess.
circles. Yeah.
Yeah, and like if you have depth perception issues and you can't really tell that like the straight line is what you actually need to do, and like you can't really perceive that it's like, oh, I need to move these 3 enemies to the other side, like, yeah, that's you're gonna have a hard time with it. So like, at that point the timer is just a hindrance. Like, it's not it's like, well, it's ringing its bell and it's flashing red. It's like, oh well, I'm just gonna have to spend currency then. Yeah.
Yeah.
that-
Like doing more interesting puzzle stuff and just doing away with the timer might have made it improved, or just doing away with that, like that stuff entirely.
Or give
would
it
have been
give you
nice.
the option. Like I looked at the options and there's no options at all. Like
Yeah.
the only option you can really have is turning off motion controls, which I immediately did.
I'm using tilt controls.
Yeah. But I'm going to continue it. I don't know if I'll finish it by game of the year because I've been kind of moving through it slowly, but I think I've played enough of it to know like the tone and just kind of what it's going for.
And
yeah,
you'll
it is
hopefully
good.
get to what I think is the most exceptional moment in the game. I
Sure.
think before it, because it happens midway through the game.
Okay.
So we'll see. But
Okay. Yeah. I'll keep poking away at it. I'm gonna try and poke at least one or two other games, just to have an idea, because next week is our Game of the Year podcast, and yeah, I doubt I will finish this now. I thought I would, but yeah, that battle system, man. But everything else is so good. It's really nice. It's a cozy game otherwise.
yeah. Oh, totally. I agree. And I think that I specifically think that the boss battles are so much more engaging than the random encounters,
Oh,
to the
yeah,
point
they're
where I'm
great.
like, I really wish that they would have just maybe done like standard random encounters or basic encounters and then just did the boss
Yeah,
stuff.
100%. I would have loved that. I think that would have made it almost not a perfect game, but it would have made it an exceptionally better game.
Right,
For me
because-
personally.
Yeah, because I think that they do enough interesting things in the boss battles to make you go, okay, there's a really interesting strategy involved in there, whereas the strategy in the like more random encounters is just
It's
kind
puzzle
of
solutions.
boring. Yeah,
Yeah. And like some of the puzzle solutions are just boring, like you said, and then some of them are just like, I'm not going to figure this out in 20 seconds. Whereas like
Yeah.
with the boss battles, you can take multiple solutions. Do you want to pick up those coins and those multipliers on the way? Sure. Do you not want to? No. Okay. Like you don't have to do it one way, and that's nice.
yeah.
So I don't know. Origami King is good, but it has issues. But gonna continue. I'll say one thing. They play up his mustache a lot. Like almost
They
too
sure
much.
do. I mean, they've done that in a lot of other like Mario
have.
RPGs too.
They have, but like this one, it feels like it's almost to the point of self-parody. But maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, what else are you playing? What did you finish?
Well,
Because
let's do
you're
the
not
other one.
playing it anymore because you finished it.
Yeah, let's do the other one that people have played. Let's talk about Bug Snacks, because now we have had Allison and Pat that have finished this one.
And I'm part
Yeah.
way through. I'm most of the way through. I don't know
Oh.
exactly how much I've played.
I didn't know you started.
Yes, I
Cool.
started yesterday.
Awesome.
And I've
Are you
played
playing
most of it.
on your new PS5? Because I know that's what you're waiting for.
I wish. No, yeah. It was on. It was like $20 on Epic, and then there's like a $10 coupon, so I got it
Oh,
for like
nice.
$11
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
That's
And
worth
then
it.
Got
Totally.
another. Yeah, and then like once I get a PS5, I'll just like my girlfriend will play it probably
Yeah.
on because I'll have it there. So
That's worth it.
I've played like 6 hours of Bug Snacks.
How many
you're
people
like-
do you have in your village?
Like 10, 11.
So you're pretty close to having all the people.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
almost everybody in the village. I have all the areas unlocked. I just did like the puzzle, like the door puzzle, like the 3
Oh, sure.
statues.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff.
So that's right near
Yeah,
the end of the story, but you should do all the side stuff.
yeah.
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 I would agree. I think you would benefit from doing the side stuff. I think I wasn't as in love with it as you guys are in terms of the side stuff. I think the stories they told were interesting and I like the characters, but I felt like a lot of them just kind of stopped and it was like, okay, that's the end of it. I was like, wait, is there going to be another one after this? Because it feels like there was no, like, I don't
There was
necessarily
like an
need,
article somewhere
need
about how
closure.
that's the point.
Yeah, I was like,
and-
I was gonna say I don't necessarily need closure, but some of them it's like maybe what they're going for is like, oh, they continue to live their lives. They, this is just you're coming into their story
yeah.
and experiencing it for a window, and then they're continuing
Yeah.
later. It's like I can see that, but like some of those, it was just unclear if they were expecting you to have more. Like, what's the paparazzi girl, Beffica? Is that her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
her like she gets a new side quest every time you get new people into the village basically. And at some point I was like, wait, is she going to have one more after this to just kind of wrap things up? Or she's just going to finish by saying the thing she does and, oh, no, that's it. Okay.
I appreciated that stuff because to me it was so much of the side stuff is characters dealing with various anxieties and elements of their personality. I don't even want to say issues because a lot of it is like parts of them that you're kind of coming to understand better. And in a lot of, like in Beffica's case, she starts to self-reflect a little bit, but I mean, that's kind of who she is, and she's still working through some of that stuff. I mean, I'm being careful not to spoil it.
Yeah.
No,
but,
yeah.
I think it's fair from a narrative perspective to want more closure from some of those stories, but I also really appreciated that they felt to me like they're kind of like, this is how people are.
Yeah. And like, I totally got that. And like from the story side of it, I think I agree. I think for me, it was more like oh wait, should I expect there to be another one or not? Because it just was kind of unclear about that.
It's interesting because did you play it on PC?
I did play it on PC.
I wonder if, so I played it on PS5, and on PS5, it's very clear because a trophy pops that's like, oh, you completed all of this person's side quests. And I wonder if when developing it, they had that in mind. So it was more like, oh yeah, okay, well, I know that this is the end of this character's sort of story because, and you know, again, to not spoil anything, the game kind of, one of the things I think it doesn't do enough is really tell you that you need to do the side stuff. It's like side stuff, but really it's core to
it's kind of, I feel like, the story.
Yes.
It's like it's side quests, but at the same time, if you did 0 of the side quests, I think it would be a very different, disappointing game.
Yeah, it would not be very satisfying at all.
I don't know how the very last gameplay section you do, like after all the stuff happens and then you're walking in that area and then like doing some stuff. I don't know how that would play out if you didn't do any of the side things, because like
totally,
because you wouldn't have any context for what you're interacting with.
Exactly.
And so like I think I agree that like the side quest stuff should be pretty much mandatory, but also like they kind of almost sort of somewhat try to point you in that direction by saying, hey, if you've reached the last mission, if you do this, you can't go back. Like they kind of do that, but it's not ultra clear.
I think what they don't message very well, and I really don't think this is a spoiler, is that not doing the side stuff is more of a narrative choice than what the game tells you it is. And not necessarily that like it's like Mass Effect or something, but more like you are consciously choosing to not get parts of that game story. And I think it could be interesting as well to do it that way, but I just think it's like that it should be more of a like, so what you're telling us is you don't want to see Beffica's story. Okay. You are making a choice to not engage with her story. And that's going to make the way the end of the game plays out feel different to you. But I think, I thought that it was pretty good. And I felt like the way that the game culminates kind of provided some closure for all of those stories. That's why I think it would be weird to not do them. Because you kind of get to what you're talking about to an extent in the ending of that game. But I can see from a mechanical perspective, without having that trophy pop to make it clear that it's time to move on, it could be like, okay, I guess I'm going to sleep and see if they have a thing over their head tomorrow kind of thing.
Like I think for me that it's also kind of the Paper Mario syndrome, I guess, of like I enjoyed everything around it, but I didn't really enjoy the mechanics as much. Though I will say I enjoy the core mechanics of this more than I enjoy the battle system of Paper Mario. Like upon reflection, I think I do enjoy engaging with some of the capture puzzles. Also, sorry for the sirens, but some of the capturing puzzles of finding stuff, like how you do like they've set up some very specific puzzles for how you have to capture some, like the bigger ones or whatever, without breaking them apart in interesting ways, which I think are cool. But I'll say like there was enough mechanical stuff, we talked about this last week, where it doesn't have like, you're not able to be as accurate as you want to be with some of the
It's
they're
so
demanding of you.
imprecise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But like there was even a couple where it's like it asks you to use the mechanics in ways where it feels like you can't, or otherwise it feels like there's a bit of RNG to where it's like, okay, so not a spoiler, but at the end of most side stories, there's some kind of like boss battle kind of that you have to engage with. And one of which was in the desert.
Okay.
If you've done this one, Andre, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. So the last phase of that felt very random because you're basically relying on the physics system to do the last part of it.
I didn't actually have any issue with that one.
And that's the thing. Like my physics system, like I put the thing where it was supposed to be 3 separate times and then it just missed every time. And I was like, okay. And then I did it the exact
that's
same way the
weird.
4th time and then it worked. I was like, well, fuck it.
That's,
Okay.
That's weird. Cause like, yeah, like I never had to like re-aim or anything because they were just like locked on and then like kind of have to get it while it's moving. And then that also is just, it's like homing. So that one I had no issues with. I had issues with one in like the waterfall area. That one was like tricky for
Sure.
me to figure out with Chondo, what's his name? The buff guy.
Chandlo.
Chandlo. And then there's also like Grom. What's his name? I can't remember.
Gromdo?
Was Gromdo, who's just Danny DeVito.
Yeah, Cromdo's.
Yeah.
I like
Cromdo.
Cromdo.
I like
he's
Cromdo.
I like
he's funny.
Cromdo.
I like Cromdo and
I
Bethika's
honestly
blood
like.
feud.
I like all of them to the point where that's why I think that the side stories are so necessary, is because a lot of the characters I feel like went from being kind of one-dimensional to me being like, I would die for you. I love you so much. I don't know how this happened, but that's where we're at.
The only one I didn't like is I didn't like the singer. forgot
I
her
like
name.
Wiggle.
Wiggle. Oh,
I
Wiggle.
don't particularly like Wiggle.
I don't care for her that much either.
And I
like her
didn't particularly
songs.
like her story, and I didn't particularly like the boss fight that you do at the end of her story. So
oh,
it
that
was
one was,
fine.
took forever.
I thought that
Which
was
one was the Wiggle boss fight?
the
The long
beach
thing.
with the water. Shoot the
that was rough, but I kind of dug it.
I thought conceptually it was cool. There's one mechanical choice they make with it that I thought made it very frustrating, and it didn't need to be, and it just padded out the fight. The way that the thing like destroys the trees, or the like.
Oh yeah, that was
was like,
that was
come on.
annoying.
Don't do
And,
that.
and Andre, you haven't got to this, but after you cross the threshold for the ending, there are some gameplay segments where they kind of change how you're using the mechanics that you're used to, and I think some of those really don't work.
Yeah, but
it's
I
like
think
fast.
it's
Like, it's-
like
didn't
it,
really
it
bother me.
doesn't really.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
take long, but that's just to say, like, I didn't love the mechanics of the game, but I think the rest of it is really good.
I only encountered one part that was like truly frustrating, and that was trying to deal with the praying mantis guys in the desert, because
Sure.
there's like only one area where there's one that spawns that you can actually like work with.
On top of the rocks.
Yeah. Well, but the one on top of the platform won't do anything. It just
Yeah.
charges you at the edge of the platform, and then
It doesn't
you
go
won't-
anywhere.
You
like-
can
platform.
you can flip them off with the flip them off, but you can use the launcher.
I never thought about that. There you go. See, that would have made that section less frustrating.
Scoopy Banoopy, it just is busting my balls at all times.
I love
Scoopy Banoopy. I
I
would die for Scoopy Banoopy.
as a creature, like as a design, Scoopy Banoopy,
Yeah, but his aggro area is so tiny.
and just like, I'm like, okay, I need to use this tripwire, and then he's like, oh no, fuck you, I'm gonna destroy your tripwire. I'm like, no, you gotta walk into it. What are you doing?
Yeah, one thing I found that might help you is that he fucking hates the strawberry ball, so he'll chase that around. So you can kind of lead him around with that and they move around the same
Right,
speed,
yeah.
so it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I found is every time that I was frustrated, there seemed to be a solution that if I just sort of like thought a little more creatively about the problem that I could find.
And I like that about the game too.
I just think the thing I definitely agree with is that the mechanics, the tools are very imprecise. And I do think sometimes it asks you to do some very precise things with very imprecise tools. And that can be frustrating, and it doesn't always feel tuned super well.
Yeah.
But aside from that, not liking Wiggle very much, that's kind of. Otherwise, I was pretty. I thought the rest of it was, I would say, great. I don't want to give the impression that it's like this game is fighting for a spot in my game of the year, along with stuff like Call of the Sea. It is not one of my super locked top 5. Here we go kind of games.
It is for me.
But I think it's good, and I like it. I think it's worthy of that if it connected with you in specific ways, for sure.
Yeah, and I liked a lot of the characters. I did like we just talked about his name, Chandlo.
Chandler?
Chandlo and
Sorry.
Chandlo and that pair is
Oh
really
my
really
god, they're
strong.
my favorites.
They
Other
have
than
just-
Silbo,
yeah.
I love them.
I won't spoil it for people who are going to play it, but they're the kind of end of that story arc is like
So
one
good.
of the most touching things I've ever seen in a video game. I think it's incredible.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's cute. I liked it a lot. Also, that voice actor who does Snorpy has done a lot of stuff, and like
And
stuff you
Chandler's
maybe
Yuri Lowenthal.
yeah, it's Yuri, but like the Snorpy was Ezio, and he's also Chris Redfield.
Oh.
Like I didn't expect that. I was like looking at the voice actors. It's like, oh,
It's funny because Snorpy is
shit.
like the least like Ezio.
yeah,
Of
or
all the
Chris
characters-
Redfield.
In any video game.
Of all the characters
Like-
in Bug Snacks, the one least like even what's her name the
Woofy?
like
Shelda.
the
Shelda.
Shelda. Even Shelda is more like Ezio than Snorpy. Although I guess Snorpy's into conspiracy stuff, which Assassin's Creed is all about. So maybe it's
I don't know.
maybe it's a mischaracterization.
Is Yuri Lowenthal I know he's been around for a while, but is he like the new Nolan North, where he's just like in everything?
I think he's more
not as
subtle.
distinct.
Yeah, I
not
think
as
he's more subtle than
distinct
Nolan,
as Nolan
'cause, like,
North, but he is in everything these days.
He tends to not be the main character as often.
Yeah, maybe.
He
as
has a
Nor- as Nolan
ton of
North.
not that Nolan North doesn't, but I feel like he has a ton of range, and Nolan North does as well. But because of Uncharted, Nolan North very quickly became like a leading man voice actor, and it seemed like people just wanted him to do the Nathan Drake thing for their game
Yeah,
and
Just-
make his
Just
char-
talk into the mic.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and be charismatic
Sure.
so that that character gets gets Nathan Drake energy. Whereas Yuri Lowenthal feels like every time I hear him in a game, like he's in Call of the Sea, he doesn't sound anything like Spider-Man in Call of the Sea at all. I mean, I would have, I
No.
aside from knowing that he has that kind of range, if I didn't know that already, and I had only ever heard him in Spider-Man and this game, I would have been like, holy shit, that's the same person.
Yeah, like if you look at Prince of Persia, because he's the prince.
Yeah.
You look at like Saints Row, he's Matt Miller. You look at Persona, like he's Yosuke. Like those are all
He's-
different.
Yeah, he's so his voice and Snorpy is like totally different from all.
Oh my
those
god,
things,
yeah,
too. So,
100%
so or
different.
not Snorpy, Chandler.
Chandlo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Chandlo's so good.
yes, Chandler's great. It's there's a lot of
Range.
range there that makes him. Again, Nolan North certainly has it. If you look at some of Nolan North's weirder roles, he definitely plays weird ass characters.
In like The Last of Us, even like one of his like a bigger game
yeah.
that he was in, everyone was like,
subtle.
wait, that was Nolan North? Like, oh, oh.
Yeah, that one was
He's
subtle.
capable of it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look at like the Avengers game,
That's just Nolan
it's
North.
just Nathan Drake
Yeah.
as Tony Stark.
Nathan Stark.
Yeah.
Anyways, Bugsnax, it's good. I enjoyed it overall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you got one more game on here.
Yep, it is the last one which none of you have played, but I would maybe
Nope.
suggest that some of you might want to play that game because I think that might be mechanically one of the best games I've ever played. Like I really like when it comes to Metroidvanias and stuff like that, mechanics matter a lot, obviously. And I think this one nails the mechanics with everything that it adds to it in a way that I've not seen in like other games. Like it is just so extremely well designed. Between all of the time powers that you get, because there's the ability to stop time, to slow down time, the way that the time affects objects and enemies around you. Like there will be enemies that have different attacks when you're stopping time, and like some of them will be frozen, some of them will still be moving, some of them will have different behaviors when time is stopped and stuff like that. Like the environment has different properties depending on if time is going or not. Like water, if time is stopped and you're in water, you're stuck because the water, you can't move in it. Or if like you can use the water as a platform now, and if there's like a waterfall that if you stop time, then it's blocking your path, like that kind of stuff. And oh man, there's a couple moments I feel bad if this is spoiling a mechanic, which is fucking cool, but like you have to step on switches, and if you were to run to the door, even if you eventually get a dash, even if you dash to the door, then you still wouldn't make it in time. So you have to slow down time or stop time. But there's waterfalls in the way. So if you stop time, those are going to stop your progression. So you have to slow down time at a very precise moment, run through the waterfalls, which are animating in slow motion, and all of the drops of water are like flying off of you. And then you have to slide under the door like it's an action movie. And it looks and feels extremely fantastic. Like it is so good. There's another one where, again, sorry if there's spoilers about mechanics here, but
Oh, I don't. Yeah,
yeah, like there's a section where, like I said, there's a lot of mechanics involving time, and it depends on what border is surrounding stuff. So stuff with like a purple border continues to move if you stop time. Stuff with a gold border moves, but in reverse if you stop time. Green stuff only moves if you stop time, but if you're in normal time, it's frozen. Like it has all these mechanics, and there's one section in particular that kind of combines all of those ideas all in one spot. And it's not like it is complicated, but it does not feel complicated because you're so used to them and the mechanics, they've taught them to you so well. So you're at this lower level and you're running and you're going through enemies, and you see like this pile of yellow rubble, and you're just like, that's weird. Okay, sure. So you stop time, and then it all resets to somewhere else, and you're like, okay, I don't know what that was, but sure, that cool. That was awesome. Like the animation was cool. You continue, you move on, then you continue, blah, 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 and you go up to this upper level, and then you realize that the stuff that you put back in time was from an upper level, that now it's back and reset, so you can run across these platforms, and as you run across them, they collapse. And then you make it to the next section, and there's stuff collapsing under your feet, and you realize, oh, you have to stop time and use the stuff when it's at a lower level as a platform to continue, and then you're also reversing time to get stuff to move around. Like it's just really, really clever, really smart, extremely well designed, and the boss fights are fucking hard. I got to the very last boss fight, and it took me like a solid 2 hours to beat. And it's extremely fair in that it never feels as though it's the game's fault. It's 100% you and your control and your abilities that dictate how it goes. So yeah, I think it's easily mechanically one of the best games I've ever played, and one of the best designed games I've seen in many, many, many years.
Nice.
Cool.
I was looking at the Wikipedia page. We talked about it last week, but this game is not eligible.
All the new stuff came this year, and it came to consoles in North America for the first time in this year. So it is going to be
Ported to Xbox One on September 3rd, 2019. I don't know if that was only
that's probably
in Japan,
the early
though.
access, either early access or the Japan. The North American one for Xbox came out a couple months ago, and then the Switch one was just this last week. But yeah,
it's so it absolutely came out at 1.0 with English VO in 2019 on Steam for sure.
All right. Well, I don't care. It's going to be near the top of my list.
That's cool. Yeah. I just with the rules we have set.
I don't give a fuck about our rules. It's near the top of my list because it's
an
an exceptional game.
Yeah, cool.
And
I might pick it up. I'm looking at the Steam sale. Like, do I want to pick anything up? I've got so many games to play.
Oh God! This also, I went down a rabbit hole of Toho lore.
That's sad.
We're
approaching 2 hours on this podcast already. We're not starting on the Toho hour.
I'm not. I'm just gonna say at some point I had to stop because I just wasn't absorbing anymore because there was just too much. Like,
Yeah,
and
the
also,
thing that
I didn't realize some of the music that shows up. I didn't realize those were Toho songs. I was like, oh, I know this. Like, I know this song very well. I didn't know this was a Toho song. Like the stupid Ronald McDonald meme of him throwing his arms up and down and going do 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 do, and he's going woo.
I don't think I know that one.
Okay,
Maybe
I
well,
don't
I'm
either.
gonna. I think it's called like McDonald's Insanity or something. I'll send it to y'all. But this came out when I was
Okay.
in university in like 2008, and I was like, that's a Toho song. Okay. Anyway, sorry, Pat, you were gonna say.
Oh no, just the one thing that I just don't think that I like Toho lore from the very
don't-
little bit that I've consumed.
I don't think you need to,
That's
because like
good
the,
to know,
the
'cause-
story in this does not matter.
Because when I see the like character and enemy designs, like it looks really cool mechanically, and it looks like the art's really cool technically. But that was at first when I looked at it, I was like, I don't think I want to play as this character and fight these enemies. Was like the big stumbling block for me when you first were talking about it and I was looking at it. Maybe I'll get over that in the future and give it a shot, because it sounds like it's fantastic mechanically, and that's just a taste thing. That's not a critique that I'm leveling at it at all.
Yeah, like yeah, I think you can get away with never paying attention to the story because the story doesn't matter, honestly.
That's
Like,
makes it sound a
there's-
little more appealing, I guess.
There's some points where I think there's supposed to be big reveals where it's like, oh, this character was actually this character, and it's like, I don't know who either of those characters are, so okay. But
It's on Game Pass.
Is it?
is it?
Yeah.
It's on Game Pass.
That's
yeah,
funny.
it's on Game
You should
Pass.
you should play that on Game Pass then. I didn't know that. Yeah, that
Very
game
funny.
that game rules.
Oh. Well,
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
okay. Well, Alex, you aren't the only person who's beat games.
Oh god.
I beat Cyberpunk 2077.
Good.
Yeah, it's been like 2 weeks since I actually talked about my experience with the game, and as I got further in, it became a much more interesting, engaging game. But I still have like lots of issues like mechanically with it, and it feel like even outside of like the bugs and the glitches, like the PC version has for me been relatively stable, and there have been like a handful of things that came up but didn't really affect my like enjoyment of the game or like make me lose any significant progress, so that was lucky. One of the things that kind of bummed me out about the game is that while it is immersive sim-ish, that it's more like it ends up being more like a Bethesda game with like what it allows you to do. Because there's like what I wanted was something more like Dishonored or like a Hitman type interaction, even if it's within like just like this zone, like, oh, I'm in this like enemy base, but I can interact with the environment, or like I can go in and I can change someone's schedules, or I can send like a message that'll like mess up their routine, get them to go somewhere and set off some wacky hijinks, which is what I would have liked to see. But there's not so much of that. Everyone's just kind of doing their thing, and you can't like set them off their path, which is
So even if you try, does it like make the illusion that it's going to, or is it just like no?
there's no like mechanic for really doing that. Like, and like once people realize you're like, maybe it's because of the difficulty I was playing on, like because I was playing on hard, but once people like realize something's up, then they're like on alert, and they're never going to go off alert or like return. Like, they walk around, they kind of have like their patrol patterns and do their thing, but you can't mess with their routine really in any way. So you can't like throw like a coffee can and be like, huh, what was that? Just a box. So that's one thing I would have liked to have seen them kind of build upon. Like if they had been able to have more time and to like focus on, okay, we know you're going into this area, we know you're dealing with this group of people, even if it was just for the story stuff, and give you the ability to kind of mess with people and get them to change the routine, and so maybe you can get them alone if you want to do stealth or whatever. So that's one of the main things that kind of had me bummed out, is the encounters didn't feel all that different outside of, oh, there's a bunch of people here, so maybe I need to be a little bit more creative with my hacking or whatever, because I did primarily stealth and hacking. Which that leads to some problems in that game, because there are some points where you have to be in a gunfight.
Which that's so weird, because
yeah,
like Deus Ex had that problem, and that
Yeah.
came out a long time ago. You would think they might have learned a lesson from that.
you know, I don't know. There are, like, you can get through parts of the fights through hacking, but maybe I just didn't build right. So like take the right perk or something. So I wasn't getting like regen. Maybe that's why, but like basically I would do my hacks, and then because I'm in combat, my RAM wouldn't like recharge. I couldn't download more RAM, so I couldn't hack anymore after I did like so many hacks. So that was also annoying, because I was like, I spec'd to mostly do hacking, and like I had some like decent guns, but I wasn't trying to use them. And then also it didn't feel like there was any real reason to go like non-lethal, which is something I chose to do. Like occasionally there are moments where you can like complete a mission non-lethally, and like that you'll get like some slightly different dialogue, but there's mostly no reason. Like enemies aren't going to wake up incapacitated ally or something. They're just gonna, oh, there's a body, and then they're gonna go
So
on
it's
alert. They're not going to like wake them up
it's
or something.
Not like Hitman.
Yeah, no, it's
Or-
it's
So
yeah,
does it
no, it's not.
is it kind of like, does it have anything like Dishonored, where it's to your advantage to do things non-lethally, or is it just
No.
kind of for your own
I mean,
enjoyment?
maybe occasionally you'll get like some like extra money from like a side thing, and like there are some like side things where they want you to be non-lethal, which is like dealing with the cyber psychosis stuff. But outside of that, there's like no reason really
That's
that I could tell.
because
So it just felt like
that so well.
Yeah, like yeah, no, it's just so many games have
rat stuff.
handled like so many games have handled like a lot of the mechanics that Cyberpunk is using better. And those games are smaller, like, you know, just like they're smaller, not massive sandboxes, but they do more interesting things in their smaller spaces. And they talked a lot about how, this like the city is super vertical, but it doesn't actually feel all that vertical. Like you can climb up on some buildings and stuff, but a lot of the times when you're going like high up, you're just getting in an elevator and you're riding up 20 floors or whatever. And then you're in like that section of the building, and maybe you can like look outside, but you're not actually able to like, you're not going up floor by floor, or you're not jumping out, like climbing up like the outside of a building or anything.
Right, like
They're mostly
it being on the 20th floor doesn't really make a difference. It could have just been on the 3rd floor.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's like the aesthetic of like, oh, I'm up high in the city, but yeah, it doesn't actually matter so much. They do a little bit with like the verticality in some of the missions, but it mostly comes down to like it's an enclosed area. It's, you know, it's like a Hitman level, and it's more like a Dishonored level, but a little more linear even, which is like a bummer. But like overall, I thought the writing kind of picked up a bit, at least in terms of being entertaining. I thought the first like act was like, it's table setting and it's pretty slow. I was like, oh, I don't know if like I'm actually that interested. But like you get a lot more characters and a lot more interesting stuff going on in the second act, and it does give you lots of different ways for the story to play out. I would be interested to see some of the different ways the story can diverge, because it seems like those ways are bigger than like something like The Witcher, because The Witcher 3 had multiple endings, but it wasn't like, it was kind of down to like a few choices you made and like dialogue and the way you interacted with people. and there's some of that with Cyberpunk, but there are also like you can just be playing like a vastly different story depending on who you kind of wheel and deal with. And there's so much side stuff like on the map, but you don't really, they don't differentiate like here's like the side gigs and here's like an actual like a unique quest that is like more interesting than just go in and like steal a thing or whatever, which is a bummer. But
So do you think in an ideal world where there's no bugs, like the PS4 version is great, the Xbox One version is great, and everything works as it's intended to, is it a good game or is it just all right?
it's fine. I think there are parts that are good, but for me, what I was hoping for largely isn't there. Like some of the stuff feels underbaked and like I don't feel the need to use it. Maybe that's because of the build I went with. I'm like, oh well, I don't need combat stuff because I'm rarely going to be in combat. Or like I never encountered poison, which was like one of the things in the game. I was like, in the skill tree, I'm like, okay, how do I poison people? Or no one's poisoning me. Maybe that's because I was going non-lethal, so I didn't take like the lethal poison.
Sure.
Like the skill, because I was like, oh, that's a lethal skill. But there's like lots of parts that I just did not engage with, or like engage with very little, like very few times, just because I was like, I don't need to, or it's not interesting. So yeah, I'm thinking about writing a review, get my thoughts more concrete and put that on the website. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow or something.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's Cyberpunk. We'll maybe touch on that real quick in the news. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. Now I've got a bunch of other games that I want to tidy up before we get to Game of the Year, which, as we've been discussing in the podcast, maybe we're not doing next week. Maybe we're moving a little bit more, but we'll figure that out, and we'll still bring you something next week.
Oh yeah.
Well, with that, how about we head into the news?
El Nuzo.
El Nuzo,
Actually,
the last news of 2020.
It's actually a pretty light week.
But well,
Yeah.
everyone's
Yes.
off. Just
Yeah.
nobody's doing anything except the
no,
Linux
like-
programmers.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh.
Except the
So
Linux
good.
programmers.
I'll give that
all
10
right.
seconds. Someone coded Linux on an N64 or like ported Linux to the N64. Why? No idea. Can you do anything with it? Not really.
Can you run Doom on it?
Maybe. Maybe you could run Doom 64 on it.
Doom 64 on Linux on an N64. All right. So news this week. For some reason, the KFC console is real, and it's just a PC, but it warms your chicken. You can put your chicken
Yeah.
inside your PC, and it warms it with like the air.
Radiant heat. It's not really a. It's not like it cooks it or anything.
No, it just
Yeah.
keeps it warm.
Yeah, it's using the exhaust from like the GPU and
Yeah.
stuff. to,
Yeah,
like-
it's using like the ambient heat from the piece from the console PC thing.
isn't a bad idea.
I mean, if you want all
I
of your
feel like putting
components to smell
chicken,
like chicken,
inside your PC is
That-
a bad
That's my
idea.
concern.
Yeah,
because like
as long as it's contained, whatever.
I would use that for like popcorn or something. Like that's how I
that
would.
seems way more dangerous.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Is like if you were like, oh, we can keep a food warm for you while you game, so you can just open the drawer and pull some out while you're playing.
Sure.
Like, even as I don't want like I'm
Nachos.
vegetarian, but I don't want like vegetarian chicken nuggets in there during that time, because those are things that's like I'm gonna make those and eat them. I want like a snack like popcorn or like nachos, like you just said. Like,
Keep that cheese warm.
but you can't have the cheese sauce inside of your PC.
Sure, you can.
If it's in a
You're
if
not trying hard
it's in a
enough.
container, it's fine.
You
Like
can do anything.
There was a
Nobody's
PC that
stopping you. Maybe I'll buy a piece. Maybe I'll buy this KFC console.
I think it was a Monster promotional thing, where there was like a fridge, a little fridge in the PC. No, Actually, wait. No, I'm wrong. That's an idea I had. Not a thing I thought. Sorry.
Monster,
That's-
reach out.
That's what I
I've got a
think.
branding idea.
I think that someone should make a PC with a fridge in it.
Yeah, but like the PC is actually pretty legit. Doesn't it have like an i9 in it?
I don't know. I didn't.
so. I mean, it's made by it's a Cooler Master PC. They make pretty decent custom PC builds. So
Yeah. I'm having trouble finding exactly what's in it, but I know it has an i9. It does actually have a hot swappable GPU, so you can upgrade it. It comes with a pair of NVMe 1TB SSDs. Like, it's VR ready and supports
How
ray
much
tracing
does
out
it
of the
cost?
box. I don't know.
I mean, I would hope it
it's
does
gonna-
those things.
they're
Like,
going to make
probably-
like 500 of them, and it's going to cost like 2,500 or more at least.
It's probably over $2,000 because like the specs
Yeah.
in it are actually really good. I don't know what the
like a
GPU
3080,
is.
3090. What do I
It's a
need to
3090,
keep
I
my
think.
chicken warm?
Is it a 3090?
I thought it was. No,
I don't know.
No,
I
it's
think
probably
it's-
not. It's probably a 3080. What am I saying?
It's probably a
3090 is like
3080.
$2,000 by
Yeah, it's like
itself.
it's like double the price of a 3080.
Yeah. No, it's probably a 3080.
But like it's a legit PC
Yeah.
from KFC.
The thing is, it's funny that they call it the.
It's not from KFC. It's from Cooler Master.
Yeah.
It just has KFC branding on it.
Yeah, and then they're using their advertising to be like chicken chamber. Yeah.
That's so
Chicken
funny.
chamber.
So yeah.
So
It's
good.
definitely they're gonna make very few of them, and then when you get it, it's still disingenuous to call it a console because they're gonna make so few of them, and the people that get them are gonna be weird PC collectors who aren't gonna use it. Like, they're not gonna plug it into their TV and hook up a DualShock to it. They're going to put it, like, if they use it at all, it's gonna be as a gaming PC. So it's still kind of like, I wouldn't call this the KFC console, but
No, it's certainly not a console. But it's that thing's weird.
But it says on the thing. But yeah, let's see.
If they made KFC OS, then it would be a KFC console.
absolutely, if it had a custom OS, even if it was just some
Oh,
kind of custom
if it
Steam
had
wrapper,
a custom
happy to call it a console.
kernel,
Yes.
Oh God.
If it had a custom kernel, then it could be called a console. And then also, I'd better be able to put popcorn in it too.
Oh God.
I was trying to think.
I'm really proud of that
11's
one. But whatever.
No, that was good, but it
I
was
do hope.
bad.
I do hope
That's gonna
that-
be our podcast title.
I
custom-
do hope
the
that
custom
it has
kernel?
some kind of like root accessing software that doesn't do anything, that like modifies it so that if you like somewhere it says Colonel Sanders.
They say
Absolutely.
4K 240 FPS, and no, nothing's gonna do that. Like, unless maybe Fortnite, but like,
I bet Fortnite runs at 120 FPS on PS5, so I bet it.
yeah,
I
I
bet this
just
PC will pull it down at 240.
just I just 4K. I can't find
I don't know what the
What the
GPU is.
GPU
I
is.
can't find
Yeah.
either.
but I get like probably it must be a 3080 or a 3090.
Probably because like it's running an i9, so like that's high
Yeah.
spec already. Anyways,
Anyway,
We gave KFC more time than they deserve.
Probably.
Yeah. Well.
Among Us still in the news, this time not for Fortnite stealing from them, because they had a whole bunch of active players over a month, I guess.
the most
Half a
active
billion
players,
in a month.
the most active player, unique individual active players ever on Steam charts, as far as I could tell, or as far as the reporting said.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, but like the interesting part that a lot of places were talking about is the fact that it is the most active game on Steam for that month, and but it does not even break the top 10 in terms of like money they made, because there's like no monetization outside of just buying the game. And they're really
Yeah.
generous. Like it's cheap. It's like what, $5 on Steam?
that's $8, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Uh,
But it's crazy. That means a lot of people are just playing multiplayer games together, which that's rad.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I don't know that. Yeah, I'm looking at some charts now. It looks like it didn't crack the PUBG number when there was 6.36 million, 636 million, sorry,
Concurrence or
concurrent
monthly?
or yeah, monthly, whatever, in December. So and apparently Minecraft had 600 million people playing in November 2020, which is
the PUBG number
wild.
including mobile? Because I think this is purely Steam.
no, this was December 2017. This is before. This is when it was only on Steam. So I don't know. Those numbers are always weird. Among Us is definitely, though, like in terms of Steam games, looks like right behind PUBG. And I don't know if this list is concurrence, so maybe they're talking about concurrence in that article.
No, it's
it's
like
active.
over the month. Yeah.
Over the month. Okay, yeah, that's what this list is definitely looking at. Apparently 1 billion people played Crossfire in February 2020.
Oh my god, how? That doesn't seem
big in
right.
Korea.
But
China.
yeah, either way, for
Anyway,
a game
it's
made for a
super
game made by
important, or super, super
3
impressive.
people
Yeah.
years ago, like that's still fucking crazy. Absolutely insane.
It's a lot of yeah, games are weird now where they can just like pop up at any time and then be popular.
And that's something we have talked about before, is the fact that someone can make a really good game, and if it doesn't get noticed, it doesn't matter. Like that's happening all the time on every platform, on iOS, on Android, on Steam, on Nintendo Switch. Like there's people are pouring years of time into making really great games, and then if they don't catch any like momentum, then they just disappear. And Among Us is just a weird one where it happened to get streamed by someone and come back into, come into people's awareness out of nowhere. Like they got really fortunate in that sense. But
Yeah.
it's just crazy to think how many games probably of similar quality, if like, plus or minus whatever, you can't really judge subjective quality, but like that you'll never know of. So it's tough.
Yeah, and it can be such a fickle marketplace too, because like I'm looking at the current player counts, and it's like Counter-Strike Go, Dota 2, Cyberpunk 2077, PUBG, GTA 5. Like Among Us is nowhere near the top of this list, and it's just like it's so interesting how the trends, like it hits, which doesn't super matter for them because of the way they monetize it. If you own the game and played it in November, then like it doesn't, they're not like losing money for you to not be playing it right now. But it's just interesting the way that games like come and go and then don't really go, because I certainly don't think that it's like dead or anything. It's just so cyclical the way that some of those games hit. It's a market research on games is interesting to do.
Next news story. We already talked about this kind of just real quick. Fortnite doing a bunch of skins. I can't believe we're doing Fortnite news on this podcast now. That is like, oh, hey, there's skins and not, hey, fuck Epic and their stupid
No, I
mean,
anti-ethical
why not
way.
both? Why
No,
not
I know. I'm just like not, oh, how we've changed and we're never going to criticize Epic. Just going, oh yeah, they put some skins in Fortnite now is our news.
No, I put that in our news, assuming we weren't going to talk about Fortnite during the regular
No,
show.
that's how naive.
I think the thing about that game, I know this is kind of more back to what we were talking about before, and I won't go on, but it's like the I would never push for it as like this is one of the greatest games of all time or anything, but it's just always kind of been there as good, fine, a fun way to connect with some friends, and I think that still remains the case. They've just happened to put out some skins recently that connected because basically I watched Mandalorian and wanted to buy a thing that had the Mandalorian in it, and there's no video games there's no Star Wars
Star
video games.
Wars Bounty Hunter.
I own that already on GameCube. It's
There you
in my
go.
mom's basement.
It's on sale on the PlayStation right now.
Yeah, I don't know. If you want to instead turn this into how much of a disgusting travesty it is that Mandalorian is so good and there's not any video games that are like that, we can do that instead. But the Fortnite skins are cool. I don't know.
Okay, well, speaking of Fortnite, maybe if you download it on your PS5, you might have like made a mistake and downloaded the PS4 version in the past, but not anymore
Wow.
because Sony added a heads up like notification say, "Hey, do you want the PS4 version or do you want the PS5 version?" Which is very silly that they had to do that, but here we are.
Apparently it was an issue though. Like
Oh yeah.
where like people were unknowingly downloading the wrong ones and stuff like that.
Yeah. So good on them for fixing that. The little took us some time, but I guess we're like a month and a half into the console life cycle or whatever. Still can't get one.
No one has one.
Yeah. Next up, I'll keep the battle royale train running. PUBG Mobile banned 2 million players for hacking.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I mean, PUBG Mobile's numbers have to be insane.
Yeah, it's
2
Yeah.
million. That's
Apparently,
a
600
lot.
million people played PUBG Mobile. I guess this is last year's number, so December 2019. But 600 million. I mean, even if 200 million of those people stop playing over the last year, that's still 400 million people. So
that's
it's
mostly
probably going
China,
up,
right?
too. It's probably all over the
it's-
world.
I think Fortnite is big in the US and then PUBG is big everywhere else.
Yeah,
I think is
I think
kind of how it goes.
PUBG
Like Fortnite's big elsewhere too, but I think PUBG is like more like has more success globally than
I
So
think so.
you want to hear some shit, and again, this is from Wikipedia, so the sources are cited, but I'm not vetting them as we come. PUBG Mobile, which is also called Game for Peace, by the way, in different territories.
Game
yeah,
for
no, I remember.
peace?
I remember this. I remember this
I
like
don't
story
remember
about
this.
China, and
It's because
basically
PUBG
the battle royale thing had some issues like the one versus all stuff.
yes,
Sure.
and then also PUBG, it's an acronym, right? Like it doesn't track
unknown.
in some territories.
Yeah.
So they call it Game for Peace in certain territories, but it edged out Clash of Clans for player count. But Jetpack Joyride has had 750 million players. Despicable Me Minion Rush has had 950 million players. My Talking Mom / Angela by Outfit 7 Limited has had 1 billion players worldwide, and
God.
Subway Surfers has had 1 billion players
What the fuck
worldwide.
is Subway Surfers? Is it like the Subway the
It's-
sandwich place?
No,
No,
Oh, okay.
Subway the like
The-
train system.
The mode of transportation?
Yeah,
it's an endless runner.
yeah.
It was one of the
Well,
first endless runners. It came out in 2012.
same with
I've
Jetpack
played this
Joyride.
game before.
There is a very good Unraveled on the Polygon channel that features Subway Surfers heavily. It's very funny.
Wait, I must have watched that. Which one was that?
It's the making a sport.
Oh.
We created
No,
the
it's
sport
the
of the
recent one.
future. Yeah,
Oh, right.
I haven't watched that one yet.
yeah, that's Subway Surfers.
Oh, right. That's the game they're playing when they're playing the other. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. I forgot about that. Okay. Fair enough.
The list of the highest played mobile games of all time is so fucking wild. It's like Hearthstone is way down the list at 100 million, and I think of Hearthstone as being this enormous popular thing.
Is Candy Crush number one?
Oh no,
Not
no,
anymore,
no.
not
Number
even.
one is Subway Surfers, tied
Oh,
with My
okay.
Talking Mom.
I've never heard of Subway Surfers.
Candy-
Pardon, my talking mom?
Yeah, I can't click on that one. There's no Wikipedia page for My Talking
My
Mom.
talking
/
mom?
Angela, you said, right?
Slash Angela.
That looks like it's a chat.
Oh, is it my talking Tom?
No.
Sorry, it does say Tom. I
Oh,
was
okay.
just reading. It says Minion
chat.
Rush.
That
I
makes
put.
more
It's
sense.
a
Yes.
chat bot that seems
Sorry.
It's like a
directed at
virtual
kids.
pet thing. Okay, okay.
Yes.
It's like the
Sorry.
thing where you
Okay.
get them
Sorry.
screaming at each other, right?
I don't know.
Oh.
Talking mom.
No, wait, no, wasn't that was just
thought
like
it was My
Alexa's
Talking
or like Google Assistant.
Now we should make a clone called My Talking Mom.
Oh my god, I'm looking at My Talking Tom, and one of the images is just this cat ripping a huge fart.
There you go. Now you know why it has 1 billion players.
Yep. One
Why
moment.
haven't you played it yet?
No, I don't know. Apparently, I need to. I'm going to send this image to
Wow.
y'all.
I thought I knew when I searched this that I was going to be like, I don't want to play this. I didn't understand the degree to which I would be repulsed by
Yeah, the art style is.
this game. Looks like
ooh.
shit. Sorry to the people who worked on My Talking Tom. Your billion player count means that I don't feel bad
mean, it
talking shit about
feel-
your game.
Yeah. Oh God, I just saw that. I just
Farting cat?
Oh,
The farting
no.
cat. Yeah, this is
Oh my God.
I just sent it to our group chat as well. That's
this
beautiful.
is awful. This is awful.
Wow.
A billion people. A billion people.
It's all kids.
I bet it's not.
Yeah, you're right. It's not.
Yeah.
But, trying to make myself feel better.
Yeah. I had that thought too and then went, oh, it's probably not.
Take that, Among Us.
Hey, Among Us has almost 500 million players on mobile, so
That's half of a Tom.
yeah, it's almost half a Tom.
How long has Tom been
Yeah.
out?
Since 2014.
Yeah, so there you go.
2013 for Tom, 2014 for Angela. I don't
Apparently,
know.
there's a sequel, but it is not done as well as.
That's
as
what the
well My Talking
farting
Tom.
picture is from.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
My Talking Tom too. All right. Next news story. Back to Cyberpunk. CD Projekt Red has multiple lawsuits being filed on behalf of investors because of their handling of the PS4 and Xbox versions of the of Cyberpunk. Basically saying you hid this game from people and caused like a massive like publicity and investor like stock tanking stuff. Basically they
They hid
tanked
it
the
from
stock.
investors too. Investors didn't get to see it. If they had just, if it had been available for investors to look at, I think they probably would be in less hot water.
Yeah.
I don't know how the stock market works in Poland. In the United States, you can't tell your investors that something's going to be really successful when it's like knowingly
Yeah.
going to tank and and you're, I mean, that's like against the law. So like Walmart can't say like, we're going to open 100 new stores if they know they're going to close 1,000 stores or 200 stores or whatever. They can't just like lie to their investors like that.
Yeah. So there are, I think, 4 lawsuits pending. One has been filed in the States. There's another one in Poland that has already been filed too. This is, again, it's on behalf of investors, not for customers. They offered refunds and stuff for them. But some people don't seem to understand how that works. But it's going to be interesting.
Funny. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens after this, because I don't know.
I think it's I still don't know that I feel it's going to have the impact that we all want it to have. I think I think it will have an impact, but I think it'll be more inside the industry. There will maybe be some very stealthy adjustments to the ways in which certain processes happen at major publishers and platform holders. I don't think it's something we're ever really going to see or hear about.
I mean, like, major games don't really, I mean, you get your occasional Bethesda like janky release, but most major games don't release this like that bad. So it's not like a thing that companies have to worry about so much. Like, they have to worry about being upfront and truthful with their investors, but they don't, they're not like, we're not showing this version of the game because it's so fucked up. When it's where most people are going to play it, they put their best foot forward most of the time, but it's not deliberately keeping the game away from people's eyes, which I believe they even said like, oh yeah, we purposefully didn't show that version of the game, which is not a great look for them and is not going to do them any favors in court, I imagine. But
yeah, I think unfortunately with that lawsuit stuff, I would be a lot more enthused about this if it was like a class action or something.
It is class action.
Well, if it was a class action
of investors,
yeah, investment money is so like, this is very wealthy people getting angry that some of their wealth has been affected. And so they're going to take their very angry feelings about their wealth out on a very wealthy company, which is going to be fine at the end of the day. There may be some bonuses that don't get paid out to their leadership, but like, I don't know. It frustrates me because this sort of thing is like, oh great, rich people moving their money around. Like,
Yeah,
I don't.
this lawsuit in particular, to me, I don't think it's going to have any rippling effects in the industry. This one just seems to me like some people looking to think maybe they can make a quick buck. Because like there have been worse games that have come out, like more broken games that have come out at launch that didn't have lawsuits, or like games that have come out that have affected company stock. Like look at EA. They've had their stock affected multiple times by games that failed. And they didn't get lawsuits over it. Like, I think this one is just kind of jumping into the zeitgeist of everybody jumping down the throats of CD Projekt Red. Like, I'm not saying they they don't deserve some of it.
Yeah.
Like they've certainly dug their own grave for a lot of this, but I just don't think this is going to set any precedents for the future, or I would hope it doesn't.
I think these investors have a case, I'll say, because I think if you look at like Battlefront 2, for example, that had a similar, like EA stock took a nosedive after Battlefront 2 initially released.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
That especially because it caused all of the loot box controversy in Europe.
Well, yeah. But a lot of that was like, the thing that EA did that was shitty was when press saw the game before it came out, it had lower costs in the currency to buy the characters, and then they jacked it up. But from an investment perspective, they didn't like say to investors like, and players will love these low cost characters. They said, and players will buy these characters with real money because it's going to be hard to get them to investors. And then investors went, okay, you made it harder. Cool. So EA couldn't necessarily foresee, they weren't like hiding core information about the game. They did a shitty thing, but it was pretty par for the course for EA shitty. So I don't think that there would have been a case there, even with No Man's Sky, which I agree on the one hand that it's not a fair comparison, but I also am someone who got super excited for No Man's Sky and played a lot of it on PS4 at launch and thought it was awful. Or I should say I was very disappointed with the disparity
compared to what was promised.
Yeah. I don't think the game was necessarily awful, but I was disappointed with the disparity. That was, I think, borderline like kind of deceptive, but I don't think it was as intentional as with what CD Projekt is doing. So I think that these investors have a case. I don't think it really matters to the industry. I think they're just trying to recover some of the wealth loss that they saw from the stock tank.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with like the Sony stuff going forward too.
I wonder if
Sony stuff?
if it hadn't been a console release year where they need people to be excited to buy a PS5 next year, if they would have gone to these lengths. Like, part of me wonders if it's like they're like, this is not the kind of experience that we want our customers to have, because please, we want you to buy a PS5 once they're all readily available. And if they're worried that if they hadn't taken some action, that maybe it would have affected their like reputation with the gamers.
I mean, a part of it could just be they were like, pissed at the CD Projekt going, oh, just ask for a refund from your retailer.
Yeah, that
or
could be
from the
partially.
That could have been it too.
That one was
but we've covered that.
in depth.
I think I guess what I'm saying is I think if No Man's Sky had released in a different climate, I think that similar things, maybe not to the extent of pulling it from the store, but I think you could have seen a bigger splash with Sony in particular and that game.
Well, Sony also did the co-marketing on that, so
They did.
Yes.
Yeah. And then threw Hello Games under the bus.
Yes, that's the thing. That's why I think it could have gone worse for
maybe
that game if it had released. That was also at a time when like you weren't really talking about, I mean, there wasn't at the time when my friends were curious about a game, I wouldn't say to them, oh, you should pick it up and then just refund it on Steam if you don't like it. That's just commonplace now. Refunds are commonplace now. When No Man's Sky came out, we weren't quite there yet.
Yeah.
Those policies were just starting to form. So I think there wasn't even a consideration of like, oh, maybe I can get my money back for most of us. It was more like, wow, I hope they fix this game and make it better eventually. Which
Yeah,
they did.
and
It's
yeah, they did.
phenomenal now. So
Yeah, that's. Well, last news story on here is Stardew Valley, the 1.5 update. They're adding a whole bunch of content to that game again.
Yeah, it's like a very significant update. I think a lot of it is kind of late game stuff.
You
So
can
it's
put your farm on a beach.
yep, and there's like a new island you can go explore and visit, and there's I think new NPCs too. It's
Somebody tell the masturbation mod guy.
What?
God.
There's a mod for Stardew where it gives everyone a masturbation schedule.
oh
Yes.
god.
Oh my god.
So they're unavailable during their time.
Of course there is.
Whatever. That game's already horny.
Anywho, this is very there's a lot of content, and I've seen a lot of people say that it feels like an expansion, like a full
Yeah.
expansion pack. But it's just an added to the game, which I think is pretty.
The spoiler-free list of things to
God.
expect: new people to meet, new goals, many new items, a new type of quest, new farm layout, new character events, new community upgrade, home renovations. Ducks can now swim. You can sit in chairs. You can move your bed. Fish tanks, a bunch of new furniture items, as well as new furniture types like wall sconces, new secrets, 9 new music tracks, and so much more. You'll just
Fish
have to see. I
tanks.
can't bear to spoil it.
Yeah, I'm looking at
So-
the actual change log right now. This is a long list.
I would so love to be super into Stardew Valley because I loved Harvest Moon when I was a kid, and Stardew Valley has always seemed like it's sort of like Harvest Moon. Not that it's inappropriate for kids, but that it's like there's a bar in town, right? Like characters
Yeah.
get drunk sometimes, and like the romance stuff is a little bit more not, it's very much PG to PG-13 at most.
It's
but
pretty PG. Like there's
but it's at least explicitly about like we're entering a romantic relationship, whereas in Harvest Moon it always felt more like you're a prince or princess and you need to find your other half because that's just how society works. Whereas with Stardew it feels more like maybe you're into this character and you chat him up and flirt and stuff. I don't know, I just never been able to get far enough in where the mechanics start to become engaging. I always fall off after 3 hours of like running around and talking to people and getting tools and like learning how to play
Because
it.
for me, like I play it and I'm like, all right, it's morning now, so it's extremely engaging for me. But I don't.
I think
Yeah.
I wish it was. I think it could be if I come to it right in the right frame of mind to play it for like a full day and just invest a bunch of time into it. Because what happens instead is I play it for 3 hours, kind of bounce off, and then 4 or 5 months later I try it again, and then the same thing happens.
Yeah. Well, this update adds a ton of stuff. Like I'm looking at stuff and now like at this actual changelog, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here that nobody is mentioning in the articles about it.
Yeah,
But
like-
there's just so much stuff. And
Yeah, like they added
it's-
local split screen multiplayer.
Yeah.
That's-
Right now
that's big.
it's only on PC, but there's
looks
it'll
like
be
it's coming
pushed to the
Switch.
console version soon. I think like early next year. That's
What
the
it
plan
says
is.
on this
Yeah, in 2021.
news, this blog, the dev blog. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then mobile
so-
sometime after that.
Yeah. So it's just kind of neat because it is the amount of content where I feel people are saying like I would have gladly paid money for this, but it's just all like a free update. So I thought that
That's
was
really
neat.
cool.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our 153rd episode. Yeah, 153rd episode. Last episode of 2020.
Yeah.
It is.
We did it, everybody.
We did it. We made it through. Unscathed?
Mostly.
Maybe like physically for some of us.
Emotionally extremely scathed.
I did cut myself cutting an onion this week.
Oh.
Not too bad, but yeah, so that's it for episode 153 on December 26, 2020, and that's it for 2020, at least on the podcast. We did it, everybody.
Except for that time, we're going to be reflecting upon the games of the year.
Well,
But
there is
that's yeah, but we
we'll
made
be
it
out
through
of
the
2020
time.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be out of the year.
Yes, it'll be
seems
gone.
like we might be doing that on the 9th instead of the second. Yeah.
Scheduling conflicts.
Yep. Woo! 2020, baby. It wouldn't be 2020 if the implications didn't roll into 2021. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Fix Podcasts, or you can go over to fix.space where you can read Sam's review of Godfall, and where I should be putting up a review of Cyberpunk in the near future once I get that written. Just gotta, actually sit down and write it. And go over to podchaser.com/gamingfix. Leave us a review. Help us improve as a podcast, please and thank you. You can find me, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite WoW server, on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at PJC Plays on Twitter.
At Allison.
You can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY.
You can find Sam at SGCH on Twitter. And Alex, where can people find you?
Depends on if you install the masturbation mod.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, bye.